Chapter 2797. The Dragon King also has the strength of an emperor god. How? How is this possible? Wasn't he still a peak divine king not long ago? What a terrifying speed of improvement. The Dragon King of Dragon Palace also has such strength. In addition to the Sky Array God Emperor, there are two of them. Is this the trump card of Dragon Palace? When everyone in the imperial court saw the strength that Wang Xian displayed, their expressions changed drastically. The trump card of Dragon Palace was beyond their imagination. The appearance of the Sky Array God Emperor had already shocked them. Now, the Dragon King had also reached the Emperor God realm. A small dragon palace with two Emperor gods. Oh no, the Dragon King also has the strength of an Emperor god. We might be in trouble. On the imprisonment platform, the people from the Imperial Star Domain who came to watch the battle were also embarrassed. They stared at the huge dragon claw in fear. Crackle. In the abyss, Wang Xian's horrifying dragon claw landed on the heaven net and earth net, giving off the sound of thunder. The entire heaven net and earth net started to change shape. Unexpected, really unexpected. The Dragon King has also reached the Emperor God realm. However, even if you have reached the Emperor God realm, do you think the Imperial Court is afraid of you? We, the Imperial Court, are not afraid of you. The great protector of the Imperial Court gritted his teeth and roared. Divine net, open. With a wave of his arm, another huge net appeared in the sky from the command hall. The entire net was formed from dazzling lightning. On it, there was a phantom image of a spider flickering. The spider was over 100 kilometers in size. The entire divine net seemed to be formed by this mystical spider. Heaven net, earth net, divine net. In the next moment, the great protector of the Imperial Court, who had not made a move yet, rushed out to control the three nets. Three gigantic nets that blotted out the sky connected together, once again blocking out a part of the void. Attack. Seeing the three nets, Wang Xian's expression changed slightly. He roared and launched another attack with Heaven Array. Boom boom boom. Crackle. When their attacks struck, the Heaven Earth net and Divine net covered them. The thunder spiders on the divine webs were jumping on the three giant webs. The all-out attack of Wang Xian and Heavenly Formation was blocked. Ha ha ha, the Heaven and Earth God's three nets is our Imperial Dynasty's supreme treasure. With your newly advanced God Emperor strength, don't even think about breaking through the defense of the Heaven and Earth God's three net. Imperial Court's great protector roared with laughter when he saw this. Is this all your trump card? Wang Xian bellowed coldly. Ha ha ha, then you can try and see if our Imperial Court still has any trump card. The great protector of the Imperial Court raised his head slightly and said with a cold expression. We blocked them. Our Imperial Court blocked two God Emperors. Is this the foundation and trump card of our Imperial Court? Too strong. Ha ha ha, he blocked it, he easily blocked it. When the disciples of Imperial Court saw this, they were all excited. Everyone on the confinement platform heaved a heavy sigh of relief. Their faces were filled with excitement. Imperial Dynasty has so many trump cards. At this moment, a voice was heard from the side of the confinement platform. That's for sure. How can a small dragon palace go against our Imperial Court? TSK, Sky Array God Emperor, that Dragon King will be slaughtered in no time. The voice was loud and some people on the confinement platform answered without hesitation. Oh, then I, Sky Array, would like to see how many trump cards the Imperial Court has. Boom. The calm voice continued to ring out, followed by a vast pressure that suddenly soared into the sky. Ka. The confinement platform at the side collapsed instantly. What? Sky Array, he is Sky Array God Emperor? Suddenly, an incomparably violent aura surged from their side. Everyone's expressions changed drastically, and their eyes were filled with fear. Boom. But before they could react, a terrifying attack headed towards the group of Imperial Court disciples in front of them. The terrifying attack instantly covered a radius of a few 100 million kilometers. Oh no, there are God Emperor level experts behind us. Oh no, there's a sneak attack behind us. When the attack of the Heaven Formation struck forward, all the disciples at the front had a look of horror on their faces. Within the command hall, Imperial Court's protector felt the huge change behind him and his heart skipped a beat. Boom boom boom. Oh no, protector, save us. Ah. However, the Imperial Court and the others couldn't react in time at all. The terrifying attack landed in front of them and covered a region. Everyone in that region was instantly enveloped by the energy. In the next moment, millions of Imperial Court experts and disciples were killed. There are even God-Emperor-level experts. Imperial Court's protector let out a low roar and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Ha ha ha, Sky Array, dominated the world back then. Even if I haven't recovered to my peak, I'm still not someone an ordinary God-Emperor can match up to. Continue, let me see your trump cards. Sky Array roared. He waved his arm and a wind-lightning formation formed in front of him. Damn it, Light God Hall, rise. Imperial Court's protector's expression was ugly. He slammed his arm on the table in the command hall, causing the entire hall to shake. Boom. A majestic power of light was released from the command hall. No, it should be the Light God Hall. The Light God Hall shot into the sky and attacked Sky Array. TSK, you really have a lot of trump cards. Sky Array felt the might of the Light God Hall, pursed his lips and said coldly. The foundation of the Imperial Court is beyond your imagination. Imperial Court's protector clenched his teeth and shouted at Sky Array. Boom. Sky Array's formation attacked the Light God Hall. The entire Light God Hall shone brightly and a pair of wings of light appeared. The powerful wings of light blocked Sky Array's attack. SSS, the Imperial Court blocked it again. At this moment, even the Imperial Court's disciples and the spectators were shocked. The Imperial Court was too strong. However, the Dragon Palace was a little terrifying too. Ha ha ha, I am the last trump card of the Dragon Palace. Come on, Imperial Court, let me see if you have any more trump cards. Boom. Ah. At this moment, a maniacal laughter could be heard from a place not far away. What followed was a terrifying attack and the screams of the Imperial Court's disciples. At the place where the Imperial Court and the Abyss species fought, a crack that spanned hundreds of millions of kilometers was torn open. All the Imperial Court's disciples at the crack were killed in one move. The last trump card of the Dragon Palace, the last avatar of the Sky Array God Emperor. All trump cards, fight to the death. Chapter 2798. No, there's another Emperor God in the Imperial Court. How is this possible? How is this possible? When the laughter, the terrifying attack, and the screams of the Imperial Court disciples were heard, the chief protector of the Imperial Court in the Light Shrine immediately turned around. When he saw another Emperor God, his face was filled with disbelief. Another Emperor God. Another Emperor God. The Dragon King, Sky Formation, and the two Sky Formation doppelgangers. Each of them had the power of an Emperor God. 4. A total of 4. There were only 4 God Emperors in the Imperial Court. Even though the Imperial Court had a strong foundation, for Emperor Gods was already beyond their limit. In fact, they would be at a disadvantage if they fought against the Dragon King and the other 2 Emperor Gods for a long time. For Emperor Gods was beyond their limit. Ha ha ha, it seems like the Imperial Court has run out of trump cards. Since that's the case, die. Boom boom boom. Seeing that no one was stopping him, Sky Formation let out a cold murderous aura and roared furiously. Buzz buzz buzz. The last doppelganger, light and darkness. Beams of terrifying light and dark energy shot out in all directions. Oh no, great ancestor, we are no match for him. Please help, please help. On the biological war wall, the Imperial Court protectors and experts paled and broke out in cold sweat when they saw Sky Formation's light and darkness doppelgangers. Their faces were filled with terror as they cried out for help. Boom boom boom. However, when Sky Formation's light and darkness doppelgangers attacked, another huge crack was torn open. The 2 Imperial Dynasty protectors were killed right away. Ga ga ga. The energy of Sky Formation's attack disappeared. There were already 3 cracks in the Abyss battlefield. One was from the Dragon Palace and the other 2 were from the Abyss species. However, the Dragon Palace was blocked by the Divine Flame Star and the nets of Heaven, Earth, and Divine Net. The members of the Dragon Palace couldn't get through. However, it was different for the Abyss species. The Imperial Court was in charge of defense. Now that there was a crack in the defense, the Abyss species rushed in and killed the Imperial Court disciples on both sides. Only 100 million abyssal demons could enter through the two cracks. In particular, the 4 Imperial Court protectors in the 2 cracks had been killed. The left and right sides of the cracks had to face the attacks of at least one peak God King Abyss species. Not good. Hurry up and block this side. Don't let the Abyss species rush over. Release the weapons on the battleship. Fire. Fire. The instantaneous change caused the Imperial Dynasty's stabilized situation to panic. However, the Imperial Dynasty's protectors reacted quickly and ordered the disciples behind to attack. It was an attack, not a defense. Boom boom boom. In the rear, the battleships that were millions of kilometers in size released endless cannon fire, bombarding the crack. A large number of artillery shells killed countless abyssal species. Hee, Imperial Court, your destruction has begun. The light and darkness doppelganger of the sky formation roared coldly. With a move of his body, a vast amount of energy shot towards the side. A God Emperor massacred existences below the God Emperor realm and also had to face the Abyss species that were no weaker than them. Under such a situation, the experts and disciples of Imperial Dynasty couldn't fight back at all. Great Ancestor, we can't hold on any longer. We are about to be defeated. Seeing the light and darkness doppelganger of the sky formation God Emperor charging over, an Imperial Court protector roared in fear. Roar. In the sky, a God Emperor roared in indignation. Retreat, all Imperial Court disciples retreat immediately, he roared sternly. In the sky, the 4 great ancestors were fighting with Xiaolan and the rest. In a day's time, there wasn't a clear winner. However, this was within the expectations of the 4 God Emperors. What they didn't expect was that the Dragon Palace would have so many God Emperors. 4, a whole 4. This was completely out of their expectations. The Imperial Court had used more than 600 million years of foundation, but still couldn't hold on. The balance of the battle was already out of balance. At this time, the more they fought, the more Imperial Court experts would die. Retreat. At this time, they could only retreat, even if it meant letting the Abyss species expand their Abyss domain. But they had at most half a month. Half a month later, when the experts from the Witchcraft Association arrived, it would be time for them to counterattack. It won't be that easy to escape. Ha ha ha, all of you Imperial Court protectors, die. Seeing that the Imperial Court God Emperor had given the order to retreat, Sky Formation's face was filled with a sinister expression. He locked his gaze on the Imperial Court protectors and charged over with murderous intent. At this time, he was mainly killing the peak combat power of the Imperial Court. Kill kill kill, all Dragon Palace disciples, kill. Upon seeing this, Wang Xian bellowed with a frenzied expression. Kill. The members of Dragon Palace released a strong fighting spirit. This time, they didn't continue with long-range attacks, but charged forward. Woo woo. Woo woo. Little Blue and the 2 Void God Emperor Abyss species from the Black Magic system looked up and let out a furious roar. The next moment, the entire Abyss battlefield went berserk again. Sky Formation's light and darkness doppelganger broke the balance. The Abyss species fought and blood splattered everywhere. Under the orders of the Emperor God Emperor Abyss species and Xiaolan, all the Abyss species went berserk. They surged forward in a frenzy. Retreat. Retreat. 20 to 30 peak God King realm experts, restrain that Emperor God, restrain him. Boom boom boom. All the experts and disciples of the Imperial Court saw the Abyss species going berserk and saw an Emperor God wreaking havoc in the sky. They shouted in fear. Restrain him. Swish swish swish. Seeing that Sky Formation was killing the Imperial Court protectors one by one of the protectors roared. Instantly, over 20 Imperial Court protectors attacked Sky Formation. They wanted to restrain him. Boom. Do you really think you can restrain me with just this light shrine? Ha ha ha. But suddenly, Sky Formation Feng Lei's figure flashed and broke free from the light shrine. He instantly came to the side of the light and darkness doppelganger. As he waved his arm, the void trembled. Array after array was formed and attacked the 20 Imperial Court protectors. The light and darkness doppelganger didn't hesitate and waved the array in front of him. Boom boom. Pu. No. Over 20 peak God King realm experts found it hard to restrain one Emperor God, much less two. In an instant, over 20 protectors were severely injured and half of them died. Dragon Palace, you deserve to die. The Imperial Court Protector controlled the light shrine to charge over. When he saw the scene in front of him, he roared with bloodshot eyes. Chapter 2799, Ha ha ha. Tianzhen's maniacal laughter rang out once more. He turned around and attacked the Light God Palace. Die. The Light and Darkness clone moved and attacked the dozen injured Imperial Court protectors. Shit, run. Run. 20 protectors could still fight against the Light and Darkness clone, but a dozen of them wouldn't be able to fight against the God Emperor. They could only run. Formation, Darkness Cage. Tianzhen's Light and Darkness clone hollered and the Darkness cages locked them down. Shit, save us. The expressions of the dozen or so Imperial Court protectors changed drastically as they roared in fear. Shit, more than a dozen of our Imperial Dynasty protectors were killed. Why does the Dragon Palace have so many experts? Why do they have so many experts? Hurry up and run. The Abyss species behind us are coming. Shit, the protectors are in danger. When the surrounding experts and disciples heard the protectors' cries for help, their hearts pounded. They looked over and felt their scalps go numb. They were the protectors of the Imperial Dynasty, peak God Kings. Usually, each of them held the life and death of many people in their hands. But now, more than a dozen protectors were trapped and all of them looked on blankly. At this moment, no one dared to help or save them. The disciples of the Imperial Dynasty didn't have the strength to do so. More than a dozen protectors were trapped by the formation and they could only watch as they were killed. All disciples, escape from the abyss immediately. An Imperial Dynasty protector looked over and hollered with bloodshot eyes. Hee hee. Tianzhen's Light and Darkness clone snickered coldly. He locked his gaze on where the Imperial Dynasty Abyss Kings were gathered. He waved his arm and the formation covered them. No, no, no. Futile resistance. Screams of despair rang out as the tens of thousands of God Kings of the Imperial Court that had gathered together were killed. After killing them, Tianzhen waved his arm and kept their corpses. Continue. He locked onto the experts of the Imperial Court and attacked them quickly. Boom boom boom. At this moment, because all the Imperial Court disciples were retreating, the Heavenly Formation Wind Thunder clone found an opportunity to attack the Light Shrine and shift the battlefield towards the Imperial Court disciples. The Great Protector of the Imperial Court could only control the Light Shrine to resist the Emperor God, but it was impossible for him to completely restrain and trap the Emperor God. Under such circumstances, the Heavenly Formation Tempest clone shifted the battlefield, and just the shockwaves alone caused the deaths of countless Imperial Court disciples. Facing such a situation, the Imperial Court Protector's body trembled. He didn't know whether to attack or not. Suddenly, a series of screams rang out. Some of the experts from the Imperial Dynasty hurriedly looked in that direction. Behind them, tens of thousands of strange figures suddenly appeared. They were covered in black and white energy and suddenly appeared behind some Imperial Dynasty experts. The incomparably sharp claws directly pierced through his body. In the blink of an eye, over 40,000 Imperial Court experts had died. They collected all the corpses and disappeared from everyone's sight in the next moment. Be careful, those are the assassins from Dragon Palace, be careful. Experts who are good at scouting, keep an eye on the surroundings, don't let those people from Dragon Palace succeed. A furious voice rang out, commanding the Imperial Court disciples to retreat. Heavenly Formation, don't let them escape, get the Heaven-Earth Divine 3 net. Inside, Wang Xian and Heavenly Formation were fighting against the Heaven-Earth Divine 3 nets. The Heaven-Earth Divine 3 nets were indeed treasures of the Imperial Court, to be able to trap him and Heavenly Formation here. Don't worry, Dragon King, as long as they don't escape, the Heaven-Earth Divine 3 nets will belong to our Dragon Palace, ha ha ha. Heavenly Formation laughed out loud, not bothering to hide it. This caused the expressions of the three imperial court protectors who were controlling the heaven-earth divine three nets to change. Given the current situation, if they didn't escape, when that emperor-god level existence attacked, what awaited them would be death. And the heaven-earth divine three nets in their hands would also become treasures of the Dragon Palace. But if they retreated now, the rest of the imperial court disciples would be slaughtered by Dragon King and Heavenly Formation God Emperor. Don't let them get the heaven-earth divine three net. At this moment, the furious roar of an emperor god could be heard from above. The heaven-earth divine three nets was the treasure of the imperial court, an existence that could go against the imperial court. Once the Dragon Palace got it, it would be equivalent to having two more void emperor gods. This would be a huge blow to the imperial court. In fact, if the Dragon Palace had the heaven-earth divine three nets, along with the emperor gods of Dragon Palace and the abyss type of emperor gods, even if they joined forces with the Shaman Alliance, they might not be able to destroy the other party. Retreat. The three imperial court protectors exchanged glances upon hearing the great ancestor's order. Without any hesitation, they fled towards the back. Kill. Wang Xian was taken aback when he saw them running away. Boom. He moved, extended his dragon claws, and attacked the flame god star. Oh no. Run, we have to run too. The protectors on the flame god star saw the Dragon King's attack, and their expressions changed. They were originally fighting against the experts of the imperial court, and at this moment, they couldn't withstand the attack of an emperor god. Block. Seeing the attack coming towards them, the millions of fire attribute imperial court disciples roared. Boom boom boom. The dragon claws landed on the flame god star, and flames splattered everywhere. The terrifying defense collapsed. Dragon King, leave it to me. This flame god star is also a treasure. The heavenly formation roared as a series of water snakes appeared around it. Countless water snakes flew towards the fiery god planet. RRR. Endless screams sounded out, including the few imperial court protectors inside. Kill at least 20 imperial dynasty protectors to break even. Seeing that the flame god star was taken care of, Wang Xian looked ahead. The three protectors led the heaven-earth divine three nets and fled, ignoring the heavenly formation's light and darkness doppelgangers. Wang Xian shouted at the heavenly formation, and in a flash, he appeared above the imperial court disciples. He locked his gaze on the Ninth Order God King Realm Elders and Peak God King Realm Protectors, and charged towards them. Roar roar roar, Dragon Palace, you're asking for it. At this time, in the sky above, an imperial court great ancestor broke free from the attack of an abyss-type emperor god emperor. His eyes were bloodshot, and he let out a beast-like roar as he charged towards the heavenly formation immortal. The four emperor gods were going all out. Chapter 2800, Imperial Star Domain fell silent as the imperial court fled 3-inch sky formation. Stop him. Wang Xian roared at sky formation as he looked at the grand ancestor who had broken through to the divine emperor abyss seed. Yes, Dragon King. Leave it to me. Sky formation waved his palm quickly and a formation was formed to receive the attack. Wang Xian locked his eyes on the imperial court experts and charged towards them. Run. 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 Seeing the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace charging over, the disciples and experts of the imperial court, who were already fleeing in panic, turned even paler as they tried their best to escape. Wang Xian squinted his eyes and locked onto the guardians of the imperial court. Dragon King, all of you will die a horrible death. All of you are sinners of humanity. All of you deserve to die. When a guardian of the imperial court saw Wang Xian chasing after him, his eyes were filled with despair as he roared loudly. How dare you? Bam! However, what welcomed him was a horrifying dragon claw. The dragon claw covered a radius of 1,000 kilometers and all the imperial court disciples and experts around him were affected. Hee, we will die a horrible death. Did the imperial court ever think about this day when you wanted to annihilate the Dragon Palace and chase after others? All of you will die a horrible death. Wang Xian moved and flew in front of all the imperial court disciples and experts, blocking off a space. He swayed his body slightly and an illusory image of a dragon tail appeared behind him. The dragon tail spanned a few 100 million kilometers and attacked all the imperial court disciples in front of him. Us guardians and elders will fight it out with them. Let the rest of the disciples escape. Otherwise, they will all die here." When an imperial dynasty protector saw this, his body trembled as he roared. The speed of a divine emperor wasn't something they could shake off. Even though Wang Xian had flown over, he could still catch up to them easily and appeared in front of them. At this time, the disciples of the imperial court could only escape if the Dragon King was pinned down. Otherwise, it wouldn't be something that could be resolved with a few billion casualties. That would cost hundreds of billions of lives and could destroy the entire foundation of the imperial court. Give it your all and stop him. The rest of the disciples, run. Close to 20 guardians of the imperial court and close to 100 elders flew towards Wang Xian. Streams of energy shot towards the dragon's tail. Wang Xian snorted as his eyes were filled with intense killing intent. "We'll restrain the other one as well." At the side, the remaining 20 protectors and 100 elders attacked the light and darkness clones of the sky formation. The eyes of the great protector of the imperial court on the light shrine turned blood red. He went completely berserk, controlling the light shrine to attack the Tempest clone with all his might. Within a short period of time, Wang Xian and the rest were pinned down by the elders and guardians of the imperial court. Kill, kill, kill. But at this moment, more than 300,000 experts from the Dragon Palace rushed over from the rear. 16 peak God King Realm experts and over 100 Ninth Order God King Realm experts. They brought with them a terrifying aura as they charged in front of the Imperial Court disciples and attacked them. With the Imperial Court's Ninth Order God King Realm and peak God King Realm experts restraining Wang Xian and the Heavenly Formation, there was no way they could resist. Blood-curdling screams rang out incessantly, even drowning out the screams. Roar, roar, roar. The endless abyss species charged into the crowd of Imperial Court disciples, especially the peak God King Realm and Ninth Order God King Realm abyss species. Their speed was much faster than the Imperial Court disciples. Rampage, massacre. The entire Imperial Court was completely defeated, and countless Imperial Court disciples died in the hands of the Dragon Palace and abyss species. More disciples flew out with all their might. Roar, Dragon Palace, Dragon King, remember what happened today. The Imperial Court will definitely slaughter all of you. Roar. In the sky above, the 4 god emperors of the Imperial Court, who were entangled, looked down and roared with their hearts bleeding. Hee. Wang Xian smirked coldly as he swung his dragon claws. Violent attacks were launched towards the group of peak God Kings and Ninth Order God King Realm Imperial Court experts. Every second, an Imperial Court elder died in his hands. All Imperial Court disciples, escape from the abyss and return to your god nation, one of the Emperor gods ordered furiously. Imperial Court, you chased after us for a few years. You were high and mighty, but did you ever think that today's situation would be caused by you? Lan Qingyu swept her gaze across the 4 emperor gods and said coldly, "Did the Imperial Court disciples deserve to die? No, they didn't. But didn't the Imperial Court disciples deserve to die? Damn it. Because they were the disciples of the Imperial Court, they had chased after her, and their leader wanted to kill her. Those who were at the top could decide the life and death of billions of people. That was the case. This was a war. The ones who deserved to die were the 4 emperor gods of the Imperial Court." Lan Qingyue's words made the 4 emperor gods' faces turn ugly. Who would have thought that they would grow so quickly and terrifyingly? This, how could this be? How could this be? SSS, we lost. The Imperial Court lost. Our Imperial Court actually lost. How is Dragon Palace so strong? 4 god emperors, 4 god emperors. Imperial dynasty lost. Outside the abyss, the spectators trembled as they stared into the abyss. Countless Imperial Court disciples were running for their lives. Countless Imperial Court disciples were being killed at a rapid pace. Countless Imperial Court disciples screamed in pain. Defeated, a huge defeat. They watched as the Imperial Court disciples fell one after another. Protector and elder level existences were killed and they found it unbelievable. The scene in front of them filled them with fear and panic. Some of them couldn't help but fall to the ground and watch in a daze. At this moment, They had lost their arrogant attitude from before. The clamoring to destroy the Dragon Palace, kill the Dragon King, and chop off the Dragon King's head had disappeared completely. It was like hell in front of them. They stood at the edge of hell and looked at the scenes in fear. No, 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 the Imperial Court is the strongest. How is this possible? We are doomed, doomed. How can the Dragon Palace be so strong? Mad, I am going mad. Once the Imperial Court loses, the abyss will continue to expand and the humans of the Imperial Star region might be wiped out. Some of them held onto the computer and filmed the battle in front of them. In front of the computer, the people who were discussing all sorts of questions and replying excitedly felt their scalps go numb at this moment. Through the video, they could feel the intensity of the battle. It was a sudden defeat. Everyone was caught off guard by the Dragon Palace's sudden attack. How many Imperial Court experts will die in this battle? Some of them murmured and couldn't help but swallow their saliva. Slowly, the spectators in front of the abyss quietened down. Their faces were pale and their foreheads were covered in cold sweat as they looked forward. This battle was the death of the Imperial Court. At the same time, the strength of the Dragon Palace was a vicious slap to the faces of the entire Imperial Star region. Chapter 2801, Imperial Star Domain was silent as the Imperial Court fled. 4-inch run. Defeat, a complete defeat. Within the chasm battlefield, everyone from the Imperial Court had completely lost the ability to fight back. After losing their high-end combat power, they could only run for their lives. The Dragon Palace experts and abyss beasts were slaughtering behind them. At this moment, everyone from the Imperial Court wished they could grow more legs. They wished they could return to their own divine kingdoms instantly. The short distance of a few 100 million kilometers was like a moat to them. However, this distance was only a few minutes' journey for a God King powerhouse. It was just that they had been blocked by the Sky Array clone previously. Wang Xian was there too, which was why they couldn't escape in time. After Wang Xian and the others were held back, the group at the front had already reached the edge of the abyss. Once they charged over, they would be able to escape to their own divine kingdoms instantly. For experts, they could launch a few thousand attacks in a second. But for the Imperial Court, every second they stayed in the abyss meant hundreds of millions of deaths. It was just that terrifying. I escaped, I escaped. Finally, at the front, a disciple of the Imperial dynasty escaped from the abyss. He had survived and an emotional expression appeared on his face. After exiting the abyss, he didn't stop and continued to escape. In the end, he turned his head and looked behind him. Wang. In the next moment, he disappeared and left the battlefield as fast as he could. The battlefield was a slaughterhouse and they were the prey. Take the Heaven-Earth Divine 3 nets and leave first. Meet us in the vast palace. All disciples who have not reached the Divine Lord realm, escape to the teleportation formation immediately. Now. At this moment, the Imperial Court protectors who controlled the Heaven-Earth Divine 3 nets also escaped from the abyss. They looked at the abyss behind them with pale faces and trembling bodies. One of the Imperial Court protectors left with the Imperial Court treasure. The other two moved and their arms turned into terrifying giant hands that grabbed the disciples who had yet to reach the Divine Lord realm. Run, run. I'm out, I'm out. Wong wong wong. More and more Imperial Court disciples escaped from the abyss. Hearing the screams behind them, they didn't hesitate and escaped back to their own divine kingdoms. This was a great escape. Whoever was slow would most likely die in the abyss. More and more Imperial Dynasty disciples escaped from the abyss and they smiled. The disciples who had yet to reach the Godmaster level immediately left through the teleportation array and returned to the center of the Imperial Court. Heavenly formation, leave everything around you behind. Seeing more and more people from the Imperial Court escaping from the abyss, Wang Xian turned to the light and darkness doppelgangers and immediately flew over. It's Dragon King. The Heavenly Array's light and darkness clone glanced in front of him and instantly set up a trapping array. Around him, the 20 protectors and close to 100 elders of the Imperial Court were terrified when they saw the Dragon King suddenly fly over. Not good, run, 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 run. Their expressions changed drastically as they frantically fled out of the abyss. But at this moment, Wang Xian had already rushed over. The terrifying dragon claw tore through the space in front of him. As for the guardians and elders of the imperial court who were holding Wang Xian back, they were overjoyed at the sight. They didn't dare to rescue the rest as they flew out of the abyss in a frenzy. Ah! Just as they were running for their lives, screams could be heard from behind. Their bodies trembled as they gritted their teeth and flew out with all their might. Done. In less than half a minute, the 20 protectors and hundreds of imperial court elders were all annihilated. After keeping the surrounding corpses, Wang Xian looked to the front. Almost all the imperial court disciples had escaped and there weren't many people outside the abyss. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, terrifying sounds of attacks could be heard from above. Wang Xian lifted his head and locked his gaze on the 4 imperial court emperor gods. His eyes shone brightly. 4 imperial court emperor gods. One of them was surrounded by heavenly formation and an emperor god abyss species. The other 3 were trying to shake off Xiao Lan and the rest and fly out of the abyss. Heavenly formation, leave one of them here forever. Wang Xian's eyes were cold as he roared at heavenly formation. All right, it won't be a problem to kill one of them. Without hesitation, heavenly formation's light and darkness doppelgangers and wind and thunder doppelgangers charged towards the besieged imperial court emperor gods. Wang Xian followed closely behind. Xiao Lan, don't let your opponents come to your aid. Ha ha ha, 4 imperial court emperor gods, we will leave one of you here in the abyss forever. Wang Xian flew over and instructed Xiao Lan and thunder doppelgangers as he laughed. Damn it! The besieged imperial court emperor cursed angrily as his expression changed drastically. Oh no, escape with all your might. Old Yang, give it your all. In the sky, the imperial court emperor shrouded in radiance looked down and roared at that emperor god. Ah, get lost. The imperial court emperor, who was besieged by heavenly formation and the abyss species, bellowed viciously. Streaks of flames swept across the surroundings. Boom, boom, boom. But at this moment, Wang Xian and the rest had already charged over. Streaks of energy shrouded him instantly. 5 against 1. Ha ha ha, Imperial Court, one of your emperor gods will fall today. If the rest don't escape now, I'm afraid there won't be just one of you. Wang Xian let out a hearty laugh as dragon claws tore towards the front. The heavenly formation and the 2 doppelgangers immediately formed a formation. At the side, the god emperor abyss species that was covered in flames and had huge wings flapped its wings as it attacked continuously. Damn it! Damn it! The besieged imperial court emperor's heart pounded violently. He had a bad feeling about this situation. The other 3 imperial court emperor gritted their teeth as they looked down. 4 against 8, a difference of 2 times. They were definitely not a match for them. If they were not careful, the Dragon Palace might take them down one by one. Great-grandfather, an emperor god shrouded in radiance was fighting against Xiao Lan. When he saw this scene, he looked extremely embarrassed as he shouted at the figure fighting against Xiao Lan. Old Yang, give it your all. Whether you can escape or not depends on yourself. The Divine Light Emperor, who was leading the imperial court, bellowed with blood-red eyes. His breathing was a little hurried. The huge beast opposite him was too terrifying. No matter how he attacked, he couldn't cause any damage to it. When the huge beast's attack swept over, he had to dodge it. Otherwise, all his energy and defense would be destroyed instantly. Just now, he was careless and his body was hit, directly exploding. If he hadn't reacted quickly and formed a body in an instant, all his energy and blood would have been absorbed by this strange huge beast. He was no match for this terrifying huge beast. Dragon Palace and that woman, he bellowed indignantly in his heart. It was also because of this terrifying huge beast's characteristics that the imperial court had been chasing after them, wanting to get their hands on this huge beast. But they never expected that this day would come. It's been a long time since I've released an update. I've decided to release it on the 20th and release 10 chapters on the same day. Chapter 2802, Don't Force Me. When the Emperor God who was addressed as Old Yang heard their words, his eyes almost overflowed with blood. He swept his gaze across Wang Xian and the rest in a frenzy and roared. Hihi, so what if I force you? You're dead meat today. The Dragon King stared at him with murderous intent. If I can't kill you today, I, Tianzhen, will kill myself. Tianzhen squinted his eyes and two doppelgangers surrounded him in a triangular formation. The Flame God Emperor with huge wings swept across Wang Xian and the rest. He let out a deep roar and stared at the Emperor God from the imperial court. This wasn't the first time he hunted an Emperor God with Wang Xian and the rest. Lead the battlefield closer to the exit. Old Yang, forgive us for not being able to help. Escape at all costs. The leader of the imperial court, shrouded in light, bellowed with a bitter expression. As he spoke, he led the battlefield towards the exit of the abyss. At this moment, they didn't dare to support Old Yang with all their might. However, they couldn't escape directly either. Otherwise, 8 of them could gang up on one and easily kill Old Yang. They could only lead Xiao Lan and the rest to the edge of the abyss. This was to prevent Old Yang from ganging up on another one of them after he was killed. The only thing they could do was to help Old Yang restrain the other 3. Once Old Yang was killed, they would escape immediately. This was their best option now. Kill. Old Yang also knew his current predicament. If he wanted to survive, he could only rely on himself. He charged towards Wang Xian with a frenzied expression. To him, the Dragon King of Dragon Palace was the best place to break through. TSK. Wang Xian snorted coldly when he saw him attacking. His face was cold. He curled his arm and a dragon claw appeared to attack him. Scram. Old Yang's eyes were bloodshot. He waved his arm and a flaming long spear appeared to strike at the dragon claw. Bam! A terrifying collision sounded and Wang Xian and Old Yang paused for a moment. Roar! But the next moment, Old Yang charged forward with a flushed face and turned into a flaming long spear. The flaming spear brought along boundless might as though it was going to pierce through Wang Xian. CHMPH, the rotation of the 5 elements, earth. Wang Xian snorted coldly. With a shake of his body, the 5 elements grindstone appeared above his head. As the grindstone spun, city walls appeared in front of Wang Xian. Hehe, aren't you looking down on us too much? At the side, the arm of the heavenly formation waved, and formations were formed one after another, heading straight for Old Yang. A trapping array and 2 offensive arrays. Even if he wanted to escape, it would be impossible. The dark cage completely surrounded him. Old Yang's fiery spear also landed on Wang Xian's defense. The powerful attack caused cracks to appear on the yellow city wall, but that was all. Not good. Old Yang's heart skipped a beat when he saw that. In a one-on-one situation, it would be extremely difficult for him to fight against the Dragon King. Boom boom boom. At this moment, the 2 attacks from the sky formation were already heading towards him. This caused his heart to sink. Falcon God Spear. He gritted his teeth and roared. A 3-meter-long God Spear appeared behind him. The Falcon God Spear glowed brightly, and a fiery eagle soared into the sky to meet the 2 attacks from the sky formation. Boom. Chirp chirp. As the attack passed, a wail was heard. The entire Falcon God Spear dimmed significantly. At this moment, the abyss species of the Flame God Emperor attacked and pounced towards him. Ah! With a fiery face, he waved his spear and swept it towards the abyss species of the Flame God Emperor with immense energy. Boom! However, when he attacked, Wang Xian's dragon claw went above him and attacked him directly. Boom! Fart! Old Yang barely managed to block the abyss species of the Flame God Emperor. However, he was suppressed by the might of the dragon claw. His entire body flew downwards, and he spat out a large amount of blood. Even his body collapsed in an instant, but it slowly healed. Oh no, Emperor Taizu Yang is being besieged by the Dragon Palace and is now at a disadvantage. Our Emperor Taizu Yang is in danger. What should we do? What should we do? Even the other 3 great ancestors can't do anything. What can we do? Let's hope Great Ancestor can escape. Outside the abyss, a dozen people were floating in the sky. They were the guardians and elders of the imperial court. They were also the only few who did not escape immediately. Looking at the situation in the abyss, their hearts were beating violently, and they growled in a low voice with extreme embarrassment. Who would have expected such a situation to occur? Now that even a great ancestor was in danger, he might not be able to walk out of the abyss. Boom boom boom. At the battlefield, the Sky Formation once again released 3 incomparably powerful spirit arrays and attacked Old Yang. Old Yang had yet to recover from his injuries. Seeing the 3 terrifying attacks, he raised his Falcon God spear above him with bloodshot eyes. Bam bam bam! Phut, phut, phut. The immense force caused the brilliance of the Falcon God spear to disappear completely. As the force passed down, he spat out a large amount of blood, and his arm gradually cracked. 5 elements grindstone, obliteration. Wang Xian did not give him any chance to react. A greyish obliteration river engulfed him. Ha ha ha, Emperor Lord, please leave. I can't hold on any longer. I can't hold on any longer. Emperor Lord, you must avenge me. You must kill all of them. Old Yang saw wave after wave of attacks coming at him, and his face was filled with despair. What could he use to resist? He couldn't resist at all. His face was hideous as he roared shrilly. Roar. Old Yang, don't worry. I'm going to chop off all of their heads as an offering to your soul in heaven. I'm going to annihilate all of them. All of them. I swear on my life. The leader of the imperial court, who was shrouded in radiance, trembled when he heard Old Yang. Even though he had expected this situation, he was still infuriated at this moment. Murderous intent surged from his chest. He gritted his teeth and swore. Ha ha ha, great. I'll be waiting for you guys down there. Old Yang's eyes were filled with despair as he laughed loudly and swept his gaze across Wang Xian and the rest. He smiled eerily and stopped resisting. Wang, you'd better wait for the people of the imperial court to accompany you down there. Wang Xian stretched out his dragon claws and clawed at his body. The dragon claws covered his body and clenched tightly. The obliteration energy rushed into his body. An emperor god of the imperial court had lost his vitality. Chapter 2803, the god-destroying emperor occupied the center of the imperial court. Two buzz buzz buzz. Clouds of fire appeared out of nowhere in the sky above the abyss. It covered billions of miles of the abyss. This was the emperor's death, a strange change in heaven and earth. Let's go. At the edge of the abyss, the emperor of the imperial court trembled. With bloodshot eyes, he roared and flew out of the abyss. They were already at the edge of the abyss, so it was impossible to stop them. Lost. This time, the imperial dynasty had completely lost. Countless disciples, custodians, and elders had suffered great losses. Even an emperor god like them had perished in the abyss. Roar. When they thought of this, they couldn't help but let out a low growl. After flying out of the abyss, they fiercely turned their heads and looked back into the abyss. They had to take revenge for this. Grand Ancestor. The dozen or so imperial court guardian elders outside saw the 3 great ancestors and shouted with trembling voices. Go back. The 3 emperor gods closed their eyes and their figures gradually disappeared. The dozen of them clenched their fists and left with ashen white faces. Everyone from the imperial dynasty left. Within the abyss beasts swallowed the corpses. The entire abyss reeked of blood. Up in the air, the abyss species of the flame god emperor stared at the corpse in Wang Xian's dragon claw and let out a roar. Wang Xian looked at him and the corpse. With a wave of his arm, a ball of dragon blood flew towards it. Roar. Sensing the energy contained within the dragon blood, the eyes of the fire god emperor abyss species lit up. It opened its mouth wide and swallowed it. Buzz. Wang Xian waved his arm again and threw a ball of dragon blood at the abyss species of god emperor that looked like an insect. Roar. The god emperor abyss seed sensed the energy within and swallowed it whole. Wang Xian smiled and kept the corpse into his space ring. Xiao Xian. At this moment, Lan Qingyu flew over and shouted at him with a face full of smiles. I have taken revenge for the imperial dynasty. Wang Xian smiled. Lan Qingyu nodded her head and looked around. The corpses on the battlefield were either collected by members of the Dragon Palace or devoured by the abyss species. For them, this battle was a complete victory. Dragon King, we have to convert our resources into strength as soon as possible. At this moment, the heavenly formation flew over and the 2 doppelgangers had already fused into his body. When the imperial court found out that I'm not dead, they've already contacted the Witchcraft Association. If those guys from the Witchcraft Association know that I'm still alive, they'll definitely go crazy. It won't be long before they arrive. Tianjin said to Wang Xian with a solemn expression. How strong is the Shaman Association? Wang Xian retracted his smile and asked. A faction that could destroy the Heaven Formation at its peak was much stronger than the Imperial Court. There aren't many Emperor gods in the Success Sorcerer Association. There are only 6 of them. However, when they besieged me back then, I severely injured one of them. His injury was extremely serious and it was impossible for him to recover. Hence, his abilities were greatly reduced. Now, there should be 5 Emperor gods in the Success Sorcerer Association. However, the abilities of Emperor gods of the Shaman Association are not ordinary Emperor gods. Any one of them can fight against 2 Emperor gods. In other words, they can fight against 10 Emperor gods. Among them, there is a shaman from the Shaman Association who can fight against 2 second-order Void God Emperors. Tianjin said. In other words, the Success Sorcerer Association and the Imperial Court are equivalent to 13 Emperor gods. Wang Xian frowned slightly. It will only be more, not less. Moreover, they have the means of witchcraft. Even if we hide at the ends of the world, they can still find us. Tianjin said. Prime Minister Turtle, take inventory of our gains. Wang Xian frowned and ordered Prime Minister Turtle, who was not far away. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle nodded his head and started counting immediately. Xiao Lan is very strong. Even 2 to 3 second-order God Emperors will find it hard to kill him. Lan Qingyu said from the side. Dragon Queen, this won't do. As long as that shaman from the Success Sorcerer Association can restrain Xiao Lan, the Emperor Lord of the Imperial Court is not someone we can fight against. Tianjin shook his head. Lan Qingyu frowned upon hearing his words. Dragon King, I have done the inventory. There are 3 Peak God King corpses, 25 Ninth Order God King corpses, and over 50,000 God King corpses. At this time, Prime Minister Turtle walked over and reported. I have 23 Peak God King corpses and 5 Ninth Order God King corpses. Tianjin took a look at his spatial ring and said. I have 18 corpses, 110 Ninth Order God King corpses, and 1 God Emperor corpse. In other words, there are a total of 44 Peak God King Realm corpses. If we add in the 9th Order God King Realm corpses, we would be able to create 5 God Emperor Realm experts. Adding the God Emperor Realm corpse, we would have 6 God Emperors. Wang Xian calculated as he looked around. 8 plus 6 equals 14. The number of corpses was more than the Imperial Court and the Success Sorcerer Association combined. However, the other party had 2 second-order God Emperors. On top of that, the Imperial Court had a powerful divine artifact, the Heavens, Earth, divine nets. What if we fight on the main battlefield of the Abyss? Lan Qingyu asked from the side. It won't be of much use. The Abyss doesn't have much influence on God Emperors. Tianjin shook his head. Dragon King, let's make use of this time to attack the Imperial Court. Suddenly, Tianjin said to Wang Xian. Huh? Wang Xian was taken aback as he looked at Tianjin with flickering eyes. According to the news released by the Imperial Court, the Success Sorcerer Association will take another half a month to arrive. We have enough time to attack the Imperial Court and occupy the center of the Imperial Court. Forces of this level are usually established in the vicinity of blessed lands that are rich in spiritual energy. As long as we occupy that place, I can set up the sky-piercing Grand Array. By then, I alone will be able to fend off 6 to 7 God Emperors of the same level. Tianjin said confidently. His current strength might be a lot weaker than before. However, his potential was dozens or even hundreds of times stronger than before. Especially his bloodline, Witch Dragon, he could easily control the 7 attributes. As long as he had enough time, he could set up the sky-piercing Grand Array in the center of the Imperial Court. Array masters and powerful sorcerers were not best at attacking, but at giving them enough time to set up the Grand Array. When the Grand Array was activated, it could connect the heavens and earth. Its defensive capabilities were unparalleled. Attack the Imperial Court? Wang Xian's eyes lit up as he looked out of the abyss. We can't stay in the abyss forever. Our world is outside the abyss. He looked at Lan Qingyu and said with a smile. Control the Imperial Star Domain? Lan Qingyue's eyes lit up. Control the Imperial Star Domain. Wang Xian nodded his head heavily. Kill them now. Chapter 2804, Emperor God Annihilation, occupying the center of the Imperial Court 3-inch. Kill them now. A chilling voice came from Wang Xian. The Dragon Palace could not stay in the abyss forever. The Dragon Palace had to be fully prepared to face the Imperial Court and the Witch Society. After occupying the center of the Imperial Dynasty, with the Grotto Heavens and huge power of the Imperial Dynasty, Heaven Formation alone could defend against 6 to 7 God Emperors. What did that mean? One person to guard a region. If he could fend off 6 to 7 Emperor Gods, the Dragon Palace would not be afraid even if the Imperial Court and the Witch Society joined forces. I'll get Xiao Lan to communicate with the 2 Emperor God Abyss species. Lan Qingyu said immediately as she flew to Xiao Lan's body. Woo woo. Soon, the sound of communication was heard. The 2 Emperor God Abyss species agreed to Lan Qingyue's suggestion without any hesitation. Xiao Xian, they have agreed. In the future, we will occupy the Imperial Star Domain and they will occupy the Abyss. We will give them the Abyss Ocean. Lan Qingyu flew back and said to Wang Xian. Great. With this group of Abyss species, the Imperial Court will not be able to withstand our strength, Wang Xian said with flickering eyes. He wanted to know how they would react when the Dragon Palace led the army of the Abyss to the vast palace of the Imperial Court. How would the entire Imperial Star Domain react? The Imperial Star Domain will have a new ruler in the future, he murmured as he looked around. Roving Demon, Roving Heavens, Roving Qi, Roving Xingmu, Orokai, bring the resources back to the Dragon Palace to raise your fighting strength to the Emperor God level. The rest of the disciples of the Dragon Palace, follow me. Wang Xian raised his arm and shouted. Yes, Dragon King. The members of the Dragon Palace shouted. Beside him, the 2 Emperor God Abyss species roared excitedly and gave orders to their subordinates. The response was heard all over the place. Let's go. Wang Xian let out a soft bellow. With a swift move, he landed on Xiao Lan's body. The members of the Dragon Palace flew towards Xiao Lan. Dragon King, I'll bring the Fire Godstar with me. When the time comes, I'll let the Heavenly Lightning Earthly Fire Dragon and Phoenix Seed control it. They can fight against an Emperor God. Tianjin moved and flew towards the Fiery Godstar. In the surroundings, the Imperial Court had no chance to take the Flame Divine Star away. In addition, many large war machines and warships were left behind. Wang Xian kept them one by one. His target was the Imperial Court. If I fly at full speed, I'll need 5 days to reach the center of the Imperial Court. That's enough. With Xiaolan opening the black hole, all the abyssal species would be able to teleport there in 5 days. There was enough time. Is there any news from the Wizard Association? At the same time, in the vast palace in the center of the Imperial Court, the entire hall was filled with a solemn atmosphere. 3 figures sat on the thrones. There was no radiance enveloping them and they just sat there quietly. At the front, 21 Imperial Dynasty protectors and more than 180 elders stood there with extremely ugly expressions. They did not even dare to breathe loudly. In the past, President Di had never had the right to stand here. But this time, they had lost more than 40 protectors of the Imperial Court. Tragic. Great Ancestor, they are about to reach the Wizard Association. However, it will take at least half a month for them to get ready and rush over. The Great Guardian of the Imperial Court reported. Half a month. The Emperor God on the left clenched his hands tightly on the throne as his eyes were filled with murderous intent. Then we'll wait for half a month. That Dragon Palace will be destroyed in half a month. The Emperor Lord in the center said emotionlessly. Yes, Great Ancestor. I'll get all the disciples to get ready for revenge. The Great Guardian of the Imperial Court nodded heavily. Half a month later, we'll offer the heads of everyone in Dragon Palace to Old Yang's soul in heaven. The Emperor God on the right said coldly. Wait for half a month. The Emperor Lord of the Imperial Court said as his figure gradually disappeared. The other 2 God Emperors looked at each other and disappeared slowly as well. With the departure of the three great ancestors, only the pinnacle experts of the imperial court were left in the hall. Great Guardian, what are we going to do now? After a moment of silence in the hall, an elder could not help but ask. Stabilize the disciples' mentality and prepare for the great battle in half a month, the Great Guardian said with a dark expression. Now that our disciples have lost their morale, we'll release some news to raise their fighting spirit. Hatred is also a huge motivation, a guardian at the side said. Then, what about the artificial intelligence system? It's in complete chaos now. An elder at the side said. The artificial intelligence system is the same. Release some news and ignore everything else. Half a month later, they'll naturally witness everything. The Great Guardian shook his head. Half a month later, we'll form an alliance and we'll definitely kill that Dragon Palace. It's too easy to kill them just like that. We'll lock them up and torture them for millions of years. That's right, we can't let them die so easily. We've lost too much in this battle. We'll definitely make everyone in Dragon Palace beg for death. Within the hall, the group of protectors and elders had dark expressions as they hollered with murderous intent. Wait for half a month. Half a month later would be the day of their revenge. We've lost. The imperial dynasty has completely lost. Dozens of imperial dynasty protectors have died and countless imperial dynasty experts have been killed. It's too tragic. In the end, I heard that Dragon Palace besieged a god emperor of the imperial dynasty. I wonder what exactly happened. Dragon Palace is too strong. They're too strong. Our imperial dynasty actually lost. Too many people have died. Our imperial dynasty lost. What will happen next? Will the deep abyss continue to expand? Will it swallow the entire imperial star region? At this moment, the news of the imperial dynasty's defeat had spread across the artificial intelligence system. The deaths of the imperial dynasty experts, the deaths of the protectors, and the deaths of countless disciples were all discussed crazily on the artificial intelligence system. Everyone felt that it was a little crazy and unbelievable. The strength of the Dragon Palace made their scalps go numb and they felt terrified. The scolding of the Dragon Palace had completely disappeared. At this moment, there was only deep fear. The belief that the imperial dynasty was invincible had collapsed. Some people felt that their faith had been shattered. Panic spread across the imperial star region. Would the deep abyss swallow them in the future? Would it swallow the imperial star region? The entire imperial star region was in panic. Within the vast palace hall, some protector elders flew out to calm down the imperial dynasty army. Some protectors and elders saw the information on the artificial intelligence system and their expressions became ugly. Some were afraid while others said that the imperial dynasty was useless. Some people asked what the woman on the terrifying beast in the deep abyss meant. Did the imperial dynasty experts offend them first? The Dragon Palace has already guessed that we will join forces to form the Witch Association. There's no need to hide it. Just say it and calm the people of the Imperial Star region down, a protector said indifferently. Chapter 2805, God Emperor takes center of the Imperial Court 4-inch in the Battle of the Abyss. Dragon Palace's Sky Array God Emperor appeared and helped Dragon Palace defeat us. Billions of disciples were killed, one great ancestor fell, and more than 40 protectors were left in the abyss forever. Our Imperial Court suffered a great defeat, but we'll pay them back tenfold, 100-fold, in half a month. We'll work with Sky Shaman Region's Shaman Union to destroy Dragon Palace, Sky Array God Emperor, and all the Abyss species. We'll settle everything. Just half a month. The Imperial Dynasty sent out a message on the panicking and chaotic brain. When they saw this message, everyone was shocked. Sky Array God Emperor? That Sky Array God Emperor from Emperor Fall Battlefield? Isn't he dead? He's helping Dragon Palace fight us. Oh my god, an Imperial Dynasty ancestor has fallen. That is a God Emperor level existence and he actually died. More than 40 protectors have fallen, sigh. That Sky Array God Emperor was a famous expert in our resplendent starfield back then. He actually didn't die and even joined the Dragon Palace. No wonder our Imperial Court was defeated. This is the Sky Array God Emperor who swept across the entire universe. Sky Array God Emperor hasn't fully recovered. When the Shaman Union comes, we can easily destroy them if we work with them. They'll come in half a month. In half a month, it'll be time for our revenge. Phew, so that's how it is. I saw the Imperial Court's protectors trying their best to resist the Dragon King and the Heavenly Array, allowing the ordinary disciples to escape first. They are the heroes of our Imperial Court. Half a month later, we must tear the Dragon Palace into pieces. Half a month. I hope this half a month will pass quickly. I want to see Dragon Palace destroyed as soon as possible. Imperial Court's message completely stabilized the hearts of everyone in Imperial Starfield. But the ferocity of this battle made the entire Imperial Starfield tremble. God Emperors had perished, and more than 40 protectors had perished. Too terrifying. Everyone in Imperial Starfield looked forward to half a month's time. They looked forward to Dragon Palace's Dragon King and Sky Array God Emperor being punished. Imperial Starfield's people quickly calmed down. Imperial Court's disciples and experts naturally calmed down as well. The flames of vengeance made them even stronger. Everyone was looking forward to the arrival of half a month later. Boom, boom, boom. However, the entire Imperial Court, the entire Imperial Star region, these two behemoths had led countless abyss species out of the abyss and into the void. Their speed was very fast. It wasn't rare for abyssal species to fly out of the abyss, but for all of them to fly out of the abyss and towards the center of the Imperial Court was something that no one would have expected. From their point of view, the abyssal species were expanding the abyss and expanding their territory. You want our lives in half a month? Hee hee. On Xiaolan's body, Tianjin stood beside Wang Xian. He was looking at the information on the artificial intelligence system with a mocking expression. I'm afraid they won't even be able to wait for half a month before fleeing with their tails between their legs. Wang Xian took a look and said sarcastically, the Dragon Palace could do a lot of things in half a month. Roving heavens and the rest could break through. They could take over the Imperial Court's central palace. A formation could be set up. Half a month was enough. Woo-woo. Time passed quickly. 2 days later, Xiaolan let out a roar. A humongous black hole appeared in front of it. Its body slowly entered the black hole. Behind it, countless abyssal species followed and entered the black hole. Hey, look. What's that? What's that? Cold Sky Water Peak was a humongous mountain that was comparable to a planet. On the peak, endless waterfalls flowed down, forming a rainbow in the sky. This was a very famous tourist attraction in the Imperial Star region. At this moment, there weren't many people at Cold Sky Water Peak because of the Battle of the Abyss. But even though there weren't many, there were still hundreds of millions of people. Suddenly, a middle-aged man stared at the void in front of him with widened eyes and a face full of shock. In front of him, a black hole that covered an area of hundreds of millions of kilometers appeared in the void. Within the deep black hole, a terrifying aura spread out. Huh? What's going on? Why did a black hole suddenly appear? What's going on? The middle-aged man's words attracted the attention of many people. They looked over and immediately widened their eyes in shock. Howl. At this moment, an ancient sound came from inside. Everyone trembled as they felt a great terror coming. Then, a humongous figure came out of the black hole. When everyone saw this behemoth, they felt their scalps go numb. What? What's that? A cosmic beast. A young man said with a trembling body. Everyone in Cold Sky Water Peak looked over with their eyes wide open. Howl. The next moment, another behemoth came out of the black hole. The aura it emitted was also frightening. There's someone on that beast. Look, look. Suddenly, an expert pointed at the top of the beast and roared with widened eyes. Roar. But then, a scene that made them tremble all over appeared. Abyssal species with strong evil and bloody auras came out of the black hole one after another. One by one, there were so many of them. That's, everyone on Cold Sky Water Peak looked on in horror. It took a full minute for all the abyssal species to fly out of the black hole. They couldn't see the end of it. Tens of billions. Hundreds of billions. Or even more. Howl. Those terrifying existences didn't linger and continued to fly forward. Gulp. Until the two behemoths and all the abyssal species disappeared from sight, everyone swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Unknowingly, their backs were drenched in cold sweat. That's the Dragon Palace. Those are the abyssal species from the abyss. Where are they going? Where are they going? A middle-aged man asked with a trembling voice. That's the direction of the imperial court. They actually flew out of the abyss to attack the imperial court. An old man roared. SSS. Everyone sucked in a deep breath, and their expressions kept changing. The Dragon Palace led all the abyssal species and was ready to attack the imperial court. How could the imperial court resist? Dragon King, we have entered the densely populated area. I reckon our news will reach the imperial court soon. At this moment, Prime Minister Turtle, who was on Xiaolan's body, looked at the map on the supercomputer and said to Wang Xian, "It doesn't matter. I just want to know if the imperial court dares to resist us." Wang Xian squinted his eyes and said with a smile. Chapter 2806. Look, that's Dragon Palace. It's the people of Dragon Palace and countless abyssal species. Hiss. Why did the abyssal species come out of the abyss? What are they doing? Oh my god, this. As they got closer to the center of the imperial court, the number of habitable planets around them increased. When the people on the various planets saw Wang Xian and his team, their faces were filled with shock and fear. The abyss creatures have flown out of the abyss. Under the leadership of the Dragon Palace, they are flying towards the center of the imperial court. It's too terrifying. There are countless abyssal species and terrifying beasts. That might is suffocating. Hiss. When that terrifying army descended on our planet, everyone below the Divine Master level fainted. Their aura was too terrifying. The artificial intelligence system was the fastest way to disseminate information. When the people of the Imperial Court discovered that the Abyss Race Army and the Dragon Palace Army were flying towards the center of the Imperial Court, they immediately sent the information to the artificial intelligence system. This news caused everyone to boil with excitement. The Abyss species and the Dragon Palace charged over. They were charging over. At this speed, it wouldn't be long before they reached the center of the Imperial Court. How could the already defeated Imperial Court withstand the attack of the Dragon Palace and the Abyss species? What would the Imperial Court do next? Half a month, the Imperial Dynasty even said that they would wipe out the Dragon Palace and the Abyss species in half a month. Now, everyone felt awkward and panicked at the same time. Now that the Dragon Palace and the Abyss beasts were here, how could the Imperial Court defend against them? Great Guardian, this is bad. The Dragon Palace and a group of Abyss species are coming for us. They are coming for us. A terrified voice rang out in the vast palace of the Imperial Dynasty. A middle-aged man ran in and reported to the protector of the Imperial Court. What? The chief protector, who was dealing with various matters, immediately stood up with a look of shock on his face. Chief Protector, look. The middle-aged man took out artificial intelligence and presented it in front of the Great Protector. Looking at the information on the AI, the Chief Protector's expression kept changing. Finally, his expression sank. Hoo. His breathing quickened and he clenched his fists. Chief Protector. At that moment, many protectors and elders flew over. Their expressions were really ugly. Let's go and report this to the Great Ancestor. The Imperial Court's Great Protector looked at everyone with an ugly expression and said. Everyone was silent for a while, then they followed behind him and flew toward the vast temple in the center. 10 minutes later, the three god emperors and the protector elders of the Imperial Dynasty sat in the hall with dark expressions. The atmosphere was a little heavy. The emperor in the center closed his eyes and leaned on the chair. The Dragon Palace and countless abyss monsters were attacking. What could the Imperial Court do now? Order all the disciples to evacuate. After a full 20 minutes of silence, the Sovereign Lord in the center opened his eyes and spoke. What? Retreat. Everyone trembled slightly, and their eyes widened. We can only retreat and come back in half a month. The Emperor God on the left let out a sigh and said. Now, with the strength of the three of them, they could not withstand the attack of the Dragon Palace and the Abyss species. If they tried to resist, apart from the Sovereign Lord, everyone else might die. Yes. The Imperial Court's great protector gritted his teeth and said with a pale face. Retreat. Their Imperial Court had been in the Imperial Star region for 600 million years, but now they were being forced to leave by the Dragon Palace and the Abyss creatures. They were being forced to become stray dogs. This was something that no one could have imagined in the past. But if they did not retreat, death would be waiting for them. Phew, let's go and organize now. The Imperial Court's great protector took in a deep breath and flew out. The group of Imperial Court's protectors and disciples followed behind. All disciples of the Imperial Court, bring your treasures and your divine nations. Prepare to retreat. In less than 10 minutes, a message was sent to all the disciples. When the Imperial Court disciples received the news, all of them were shocked. Retreat. We are actually retreating from here? Where are we going after we leave this place? The Dragon Palace and the Abyss creatures are coming. We are not their match, so we can only retreat. Retreat, we are actually stray dogs. Some disciples were stunned, and their faces were filled with disbelief. Some disciples sighed in their hearts. When they found out that the Dragon Palace and the Abyss creatures were coming for them, they had a bad feeling. The Imperial Court was no match for the Dragon Palace and the Abyss creatures, so they could only escape. They had to leave the place where they had stood for 600 million years. Don't worry, in less than half a month, we will be back. Some of the Imperial Court protectors and elders said with firm expressions. We are just avoiding them. In less than half a month, we will be back. All disciples, get ready. Many voices rang out. What did it mean to move the entire Imperial Court? Just the disciples and their loved ones numbered in the hundreds of billions. Their divine nations had to be taken away too, otherwise, if the Abyss creatures found out, they would destroy it right away. Protector, it is not realistic for the entire Imperial Court to move. Normal people can't leave, and if there are too many, the Abyss creatures and Dragon Palace can easily catch up. Not long after, an elder asked the Chief Protector a question. Normal people, give up. Imperial Court core and elite disciples, follow us. Protector said right away. The elder was stunned. He hesitated for a moment before nodding his head. There was no other way, and that was the only thing he could do. Tell them not to panic, the Abyss creatures and Dragon Palace won't harm normal people. In at most half a month, we will be back to wipe them out. Protector said expressionlessly. Yes. The elder nodded and walked out with a worried expression. Was that announcement useful? No. It might be possible to hope that the Dragon Palace wouldn't harm normal people, but was it possible to hope that the Abyss creatures wouldn't? The Abyss creatures were bloodthirsty and human flesh was their favorite. How could they not kill the humans of the Imperial Court? After this announcement was sent out, all the normal people in the Imperial Court would probably feel cold. Leaving them here was no different from sending them to their deaths. But at such a time, they couldn't care less about the life and death of normal people. As long as the core and elite disciples were there, the Imperial Court's foundation would still be there. The Imperial Court started to send out orders. Very quickly, something that shocked the entire Imperial Star region exploded. The Imperial Court has decided to retreat and flee. We will lead the hundreds of billions of core and elite disciples towards the Heaven Witch region. The Imperial Court has announced that we won't bring normal people with us. In at most half a month, they will return and take over the Imperial Court. Chapter 2807. 3 pieces of important news spread across the entire Imperial Star region and the entire artificial intelligence system. When everyone saw the 3 pieces of news, they were all stunned. Especially the people of the Imperial Dynasty's territory. They felt their bodies go numb and their vision went black. The Imperial Dynasty actually decided to retreat, and they're only bringing the elite and core disciples away. The commoners are leaving them here. SSS, the news of the Dragon Palace and the Abyss species charging over has just spread and the Imperial Dynasty is retreating. Only the elite and core disciples are following them. What about the rest of the Imperial Dynasty? They are the Abyss species. They have no intelligence and only know how to kill. Without the protection of the Imperial Dynasty, they might be swallowed by the Abyss species. The Imperial Dynasty is abandoning the commoners and only protecting the elite disciples. This is just too disappointing. The Imperial Court won't be able to defend against the invasion of the Dragon Palace and countless abyssal species. Even if they can't defend against them, they can't bring everyone away. There are trillions of people here. How can they bring all of them away? Therefore, the Imperial Court chose to give up on a portion of them. Those who are abandoned are probably doomed. The abyss species are bloodthirsty. Harise, a disaster is about to descend. Some people discussed and analyzed on the artificial intelligence system. The commoners in the Imperial Dynasty's territory felt cold and filled with despair. They were abandoned by the Imperial Dynasty. Their future was probably doomed. After all, they were the abyss species. The commoners in the Imperial Dynasty's territory were terrified and wanted to escape to other places. But since they were all commoners, it meant that they weren't very strong. With their strength, where could they escape to? This caused many cowardly people to break down. The trillions of people in the Imperial Dynasty's territory definitely couldn't escape. Now, they could only wait for their fate to arrive. They didn't know whether they would live or die. But one thing was for sure. They had lost all sense of belonging to the Imperial Dynasty. That was because the Imperial Dynasty didn't care about them at all. Numerous people started to question the Imperial Dynasty on the artificial intelligence system. At this moment, some people started to raise some questions. The female master of the giant beast department was a human, so why did she become enemies with the Imperial Dynasty? That female master said that the Imperial Dynasty had chased them for many years and they nearly died many times. Now, they were taking revenge. Was that true? The Dragon King said that the Imperial Court wanted to destroy the Dragon Palace. Was that true? The first and second points might not be proven, but the third point was that the Dragon Palace wanted the Imperial Court to annihilate them. It might be true. The Sky Edge sect violated the rules and attacked the disciples of the Dragon Palace, but the Imperial Court protected them. The Night God Emperor had directly killed the disciple of the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace, and the Imperial Court had ignored him. It was obvious that they were siding with the Night Clan. From the looks of it, if the Imperial Court didn't have anything against the Dragon Palace, they wouldn't have stopped it. No matter how strong Night God Emperor was, he had to give face to the Imperial Court. If the Imperial Court said that they wouldn't kill the Dragon King's disciple, Night God Emperor wouldn't dare to do so. All in all, many Imperial Dynasty people felt that it was because the Imperial Dynasty wanted to wipe out the Dragon Palace, which was why the Dragon Palace Dragon King was taking revenge. Moreover, this kind of sound was increasing in number. The reason why there were such voices was because the Imperial Dynasty had abandoned the commoners. Out of the trillions of people, even 1% of them were unhappy with what the Imperial Court was doing was enough to cause an uproar. The Imperial Court didn't treat them as one of their own, so why should they speak up for the Imperial Court? Especially when it concerned their own lives. The entire artificial intelligence system seemed to be in chaos. Countless fearful people in the Imperial Court territory sent out all sorts of messages and many of them even cursed the Imperial Court. Protector, the artificial intelligence system is in chaos. I heard that some planets are in chaos too. Many of the commoners are unhappy with what we did. In the sky above the central region of the Imperial Court, numerous god countries floated in the air and numerous Imperial Court disciples surrounded them. At the front, a protector said to the protector, "There's no need to bother about them. Our foundation isn't like these commoners. Let them shout whatever they want. After we return in half a month, they will still have to obey us." The Imperial Court protector said coldly. The few people beside him nodded slightly as they scanned the surroundings. All the disciples of the Imperial Court were preparing to flee with their god countries and loved ones. Buzz. Not long later, 3 majestic figures appeared in the void in front of them. When the protectors saw them, they flew over immediately. "Great Ancestor," they called out respectfully. The Emperor Lord in the lead nodded his head calmly and looked at everything below. Today was a humiliation for the Imperial Court. Unfortunately, we can't bring our Imperial Court islands away. The God Emperor on the right said. It doesn't matter. At most, we will be back in half a month. The God Emperor on the left said calmly. I hope that Dragon Palace doesn't destroy this place. If not, I will let them suffer. The God Emperor on the right looked at the buildings below. The Imperial Court Islands were too huge, and even if they were God Emperors, they wouldn't be able to bring them away. They couldn't bring away the buildings above either. In fact, they couldn't even bring away the grotto heavens here. But it didn't matter. They would be back in half a month. I hope that the experts from the Witch Guild will arrive soon. The surrounding Imperial Court protectors and experts clenched their fists and said, "Prepare to retreat." A full day later, the Imperial Dynasty disciples and experts were finally done cleaning up. There were too many people. There were too many things that they had to bring. In the sky above the Imperial Court Islands, there were many god countries floating in the air. Each god country gave off a strong aura. When the evacuation order sounded, the entire team flew in the direction of the heavenly witchcraft domain in a mighty manner. 3 god emperors led the way. Today, the Imperial Court was like a stray dog. On the artificial intelligence system, this scene was also transmitted by some people. This scene caused countless people to be shocked once again. Dragon King, the people from the Imperial Court have escaped. In the void above the Imperial Court territory, Prime Minister Turtle looked at the artificial intelligence system in his hands and said with a smile, "What a wise choice." Wang Xian smiled and turned on the artificial intelligence system to take a look. He smiled when he saw some of the content, especially the comments, replies, and disappointment of the people in the Imperial Court territory. Prime Minister Turtle, release a message in the name of the Dragon Palace. The Dragon Palace will not kill ordinary people. At the same time, the Dragon Palace will restrict the Abyss demons from killing ordinary people. Also, tell everyone about the feud between the Dragon Palace, Qingyu, and the Imperial Court. Wang Xian said calmly. There was an old saying on Earth, "He who wins the hearts of the people will rule the world." Although it wasn't suitable in this universe where the strong preyed on the weak, Wang Xian didn't want to be scolded by the people of the Imperial Star Domain. Winning the hearts of the people would bring him great benefits in the long run. Chapter 2808, Destroying God Emperor, occupying the center of the Imperial Dynasty 7-inch Dragon Palace made a statement on the computer. Look, Dragon Palace made a statement. At this moment, the Imperial Dynasty territory was in chaos. Many planets were in chaos. Someone wanted to use the teleportation formation to teleport to the evil demon island. To everyone, the most dangerous place was the Imperial Dynasty. But just at this moment, someone saw a statement from Dragon Palace on the computer. After seeing this statement, they were slightly stunned, and a look of surprise appeared on their faces. Let's not run anymore. Dragon Palace made a statement that they won't kill the innocent and will restrict the Abyss species. Dragon Palace made a statement. Dragon Palace is leading the Abyss species army to attack the Imperial Dynasty. We won't harm the civilians and will restrict the Abyss species from killing humans. Also, because of this battle, the Imperial Court has always been biased towards the Sky Edge sect and the Night Clan. Furthermore, because of the existence of the Night God Emperor, the Imperial Court has decided to destroy the Dragon Palace after the Abyss War. Apart from that, our Dragon Queen, who is the owner of the Giant Beast series, left the Dragon Palace by accident a few years ago and was chased by the Imperial Dynasty. She fled for 3 years and was forced into the Abyss to build the Giant Beast series. Dragon Palace and the Imperial Dynasty have a huge feud. We won't rest until one side is wiped out. When the others found out that Dragon Palace suddenly made a statement, they were shocked. They immediately opened the computer to take a look. Looking at the information, everyone within the Imperial Court's territory was extremely excited. Dragon Palace will restrict the Abyss species. That's good, that's good. We won't be in danger then. I see. No wonder Dragon Palace and the Imperial Dynasty will fight to the death. The Imperial Dynasty wants to wipe out Dragon Palace. Moreover, the Dragon Queen is being chased by the Imperial Dynasty. That giant beast woman can control 2 God Emperor level beasts. I didn't expect her to be the Dragon Queen, the wife of the Dragon King. No wonder the Abyss species suddenly attacked us. The Imperial Dynasty wants to wipe out the Dragon Queen. This is her revenge. All these disasters were caused by the Imperial Dynasty. Support the Dragon Palace, wipe out the Imperial Dynasty, wipe them out. Damn. The people from the Imperial Dynasty territory discussed and replied in surprise. Some violent people who were unhappy with the Imperial Dynasty started to support the Dragon Palace. More people were relieved that the Dragon Palace forbade the Abyss type from hunting them. At the same time, he understood a little about the feud between the Imperial Dynasty and the Dragon Palace as well as the Abyss species. If the statement made by the Dragon Palace was true, then this disaster was caused by the Imperial Court itself. Great Protector, the Dragon Palace actually made a statement on the AI, trying to win people's hearts. Should we delete their information? At this moment, somewhere in the starry sky of the Imperial Dynasty, there were experts and disciples of the Imperial Dynasty in the vast space that stretched for billions of miles. An elder flew in front of the Imperial Court's Grand Protector and said with a dark expression, There's no need to pay attention to it. Deleting it will only make things worse. Our Imperial Court has stood in the Imperial Star region for more than 600 million years. As long as we return, these are all small matters. How can a mere Dragon Palace shake us in such a short time? Imperial Court Protector said with a cold expression. The protectors next to him also nodded slightly. They didn't care about the statement made by the Dragon Palace at all. They had a foundation of more than 600 million years in the Imperial Star region. As long as they could return, the information on the AI would immediately disappear. Some stupid things. After we return, we'll use the information on the AI to find them and send them to work on the Spirit Vein Star. However, the protectors looked at the information on the AI and said with cold expressions, it's impossible. Although they didn't care about some dead fish and prawns, they were already in a bad mood. They decided to let the Imperial Court disciples deal with these people who talked nonsense on the AI after dealing with the Dragon Palace and let them know the consequences. The AI was in an uproar and the Imperial Dynasty disciples quickly retreated. The Dragon Palace was getting closer and closer to the center of the Imperial Court. After dozens of hours, they arrived in front of the Imperial Court Island. The Imperial Court Island was the largest island in the entire Imperial Star region. A peak Divine King expert would need to fly for a month to fly from one side to the other. How vast was this? The entire Imperial Court Island was a huge treasure trove. There were many grotto heavens and blessed lands on it. Below the island, there were countless spiritual stones and divine stones. The spiritual energy on the island was very rich. As the headquarters of a huge force in the Imperial Star region that had stood for more than 600 million years, how could their territory be ordinary? At this moment, there were not many people on the Imperial Court Island and it looked a little somber. Those who could stay on the Imperial Court Island were all the core and elite disciples of the Imperial Court. There was no need to mention the inner island. Only experts at the God King realm and above could enter. Xiao Lan gradually flew above the Imperial Court Island and looked down at the entire place. This Imperial Court Island can be ranked among the top in the entire resplendent starry sky. Tianzhen's eyes shone as he looked down and said, "Let's go to the center and check if there are any traps on the island. At the same time, we will take over their vast palace." The Imperial Court didn't destroy any of the treasures here. They might be thinking that they can take this place back in half a month, said Wang Xian with a smile as he swept his gaze across the area. It's impossible to take it back. Dragon King, let's go to the center first. Tianzhen chuckled. With a jerk of his body, he looked towards the vast palace in the center. Qingyu, get Xiao Lan and the rest to suppress the abyss species. Let's go and take a look. Wang Xian said to Lan Qingyu when they were near the inner island. All right. Lan Qingyu nodded and immediately gave instructions to Xiao Lan. Let's go. Let's fly down. The headquarters of the Imperial Court is very beautiful and vast. Soon, Wang Xian led Lan Qingyu and the rest towards the vast palace. Mountain peaks, flowing water, and white clouds. It was a beautiful sight. The entire inner island of the Imperial Court could be compared to a large planet. Wang Xian followed the fluctuation of spiritual energy and came to the grotto heavens and blessed lands of the Imperial Court to check out the treasures. The entire Imperial Court Island was extremely huge. Even the vast palace in the center was huge. He spent 2 hours to go through all of them. The entire vast palace was majestic and magnificent. This was the most stunning palace Wang Xian had ever seen. Dragon King, there's a grotto heavens and blessed land here. It's located below the vast palace. At this moment, Tianjin's voice was heard. Chapter 2809, A Heaven-Defying Battle 1-0? Upon hearing Tianjin's words, Wang Xian flew to his side in a flash. Dragon King, it's here. This should be one of the most important cultivation grounds in the imperial court. With a swift movement, Tianjin brought him along and flew towards the back. At the back of the mountain was a continuous chain of mountain peaks, each of which had been built with palaces. This was a paradise, a real paradise. Dragon King, it's here. Soon, they arrived at a peak with the words Emperor God Palace written on it. There was an entrance at the bottom. When the two entered, a vast aura surged towards them. This is... Wang Xian stared at the bottom, his eyes flickering. Dragon King, this is the Void God Nation, a huge one. Tianjin said with a smile as he surveyed the surroundings. If I'm not wrong, this should be a second-order God Emperor realm Void God Nation. The owner of this God Nation might have fallen a long time ago. The entire God Nation is located above a divine range. The entire divine range nourishes this God Nation. It's easier to break through in this God Nation. The cultivation speed is only slightly slower than the Dragon Palace. This God Nation is definitely a treasure. It might not be of much use to us, but to Aosia and the rest, it's an opportunity to break through. Dragon King, this is a pleasant surprise for us. Tianjin was slightly excited. A second-order God Emperor realm Void God Nation might not be of much use to him, but he knew that it was extremely precious to Aosia and the devouring dragons. Aosia had devoured Night God Monarch's God Nation not long ago. However, a first-order God Emperor realm Void God Nation was not enough to raise his strength. He was still lacking one. And this second-order Void God Emperor Divine Nation in front of him was equivalent to 10 first-order Void God Emperors. In other words, this God Nation could raise the strength of 5 devouring dragons to the first-order God Emperor realm. Have you checked inside? Is the God Nation intact? Wang Xian's eyes lit up as he asked. Dragon King, there are some flaws in the Holy Kingdom. This is a void Holy Kingdom with light attributes. It is obvious that some of the treasures in the Holy Kingdom have been taken away. Even so, it should not be a problem for the 3 devouring dragons to increase their fighting power to Emperor God. Tianjin said with a smile. All right, 3 is already a lot. Wang Xian's eyes were filled with excitement as he laughed heartily. Dragon King, I'm almost done checking out the entire central island. Next, I'm going to set up a large-scale array on each of the gods' meridians and spiritual meridians. Time is a little tight, so I'll set it up immediately. Tianjin immediately said. All right, go ahead. Wang Xian nodded his head. With a swift move, he flew out immediately. Aosia! He shouted and called Aosia over. Knowing that there was a void second-order God Emperor realm God Nation here, Aosia was so excited that he charged into the God Nation and started devouring it. Xiao Xian, this imperial court is just too beautiful. There's even an ocean here and there are many islands in the ocean. It's just too beautiful. After we occupy this place, we can move the main dragon palace here. Lan Qingyu flew over at this moment, pointed in a direction and spoke to Wang Xian. I'll go take a look. Wang Xian smiled and looked to the right. On the right, there was an ocean. The ocean was not very big, spanning hundreds of millions of kilometers, and there were many islands on it. Every island was exceptionally beautiful. This place is really beautiful. We can rest and play here in the future. Shu Qing and the rest will be overjoyed if they know. Lan Qingyu said with a beaming face. After staying in the abyss for the past few years, this place was like heaven to her. All right, I'll build a dragon palace here and ask them to come over immediately. Wang Xian chuckled as he dived into the ocean. It was easy to build a dragon palace and it was done in no time. You can handle the matters here. I'll go get Shu Qing and the rest. Lan Qingyu said happily and left through the teleportation array. Prime Minister Turtle. Wang Xian called Prime Minister Turtle over with a thought. Dragon King, I'm making a map of the islands in the imperial court. The map of the central island is done. Prime Minister Turtle came to the Dragon Palace and said with a smile, Get all the disciples to familiarize themselves with the central island. In the future, this will be the place where the disciples of the Dragon Palace will be active. After we have complete control over it, I'll move the main Dragon Palace here. Wang Xian nodded his head and continued, in the next few days, you have to check out the surrounding void and be prepared for the upcoming battle. Yes, Dragon King. I'll make the preparations now. Prime Minister Turtle nodded his head. Wang Xian stood up and flew out. He continued to explore the central island of the imperial court and the situation of the vast palace. Time passed day by day and the Dragon Palace had a thorough understanding of the central island. Lan Qingyu and the other girls started to play around under the lead of the Emperor Star Maiden and her mother. Even the Emperor Star Maiden had only been to less than 1/20th of the central island of the imperial court. This made the girls very happy. The only pity was that the entire central island was deserted and there were very few people. However, under the lead of Feng Luan, the girls started to think about how to develop this place in the future. On the AI, everyone knew that the Dragon Palace and the Abyss species had entered the Imperial Court Island. Everyone was relieved that the Abyss species didn't start a riot. They weren't sure what the Dragon Palace was doing on the Imperial Court Island. However, some people guessed that the Dragon Palace might be preparing to fight to the death with the Imperial Court and the Witchcraft Alliance on the Imperial Court Island. This made many people discuss the upcoming battle. Would the Dragon Palace be annihilated by the Imperial Court and the Witchcraft Alliance? Many people were more optimistic about the Imperial Court and the Witchcraft Alliance. More accurately, they were optimistic about the Witchcraft Alliance. The Witchcraft Alliance had been ranked top 3 among the 7 major forces in the resplendent starry sky tens of millions of years ago. Because of the Battle of Emperor's Fall, their ranking had dropped. Even so, they were still stronger than the Imperial Court and were still incomparably terrifying. They could annihilate the Sky Array God Emperor tens of millions of years ago. Now that the Sky Array God Emperor hadn't recovered to his peak, they could annihilate him even more. The entire Imperial Star Domain was paying attention to the war that was going to happen in half a month. Currently, no one was cursing the Dragon Palace on the AI. Whether it was the people in other parts of the Imperial Star Domain or the people in the Imperial Court territory, they all understood that this was a feud between the Imperial Court and the Dragon Palace. It had nothing to do with them. The Dragon Palace hadn't harmed them, and the Imperial Court had abandoned them. They naturally wouldn't be biased. As far as they were concerned, no matter who won or lost, it wouldn't affect them much. Chapter 28:10, A heaven-defying battle. 2-inch set up camp in this void. In the north of the Imperial Court in the vast void, there was an incomparably huge team that stretched for billions of kilometers. An order came from the front, and everyone immediately stopped. At the front, there was a palace about 100 kilometers wide. At this moment, the palace was glowing. In the center of the palace, the 3 god emperors of the Imperial Court stood there. In front of them, there were 6 figures. Beside them, there were dozens of people standing respectfully behind them. The figures in front of the 3 god emperors were not real. This group of figures was currently in the distant Sky Shaman region. We have confirmed that that is the Sky Array God Emperor. The 6 figures in front of them were dressed in the same black robes. On their chests, there was a huge shaman character. At this moment, the 6 figures had ugly expressions on their faces. They stood there awkwardly. The Sky Array God Emperor was not dead yet. When this news reached them, their heads were buzzing, and their expressions were ugly. Especially the middle-aged man on the left. His expression was even uglier. Back then, Sky Array was the pinnacle existence in the Sky Shaman region. He was not a member of the Shaman Association, but he could fight against the entire association alone. Sky Array and the Shaman Association's path was the same. Becoming a shaman. His relationship with the Shaman Association was not bad. On the contrary, it was very good. The existence of Sky Array was also the reason why the Shaman Association was so strong among the other factions in the bright starry sky. Later, because they knew that the Sky Array God Emperor had obtained treasures related to shamans in the 8 Desolates, they could not help but be greedy. That battle was too great a loss to the Shaman Association. So much so that they had not fully recovered even now. Now that they knew that Sky Array was still alive, they felt their scalps go numb. Given their grudges, a huge battle was unavoidable. But they heaved a sigh of relief. Sky Array God Emperor had not recovered to his peak. We will naturally not deceive everyone from the Sorcerer Union. Sorcerer, we are enemies with the Sky Array God Emperor. He is currently staying within a power of the Dragon Palace, colluding with the Abyss species within the Abyss and the Dragon Palace. Sky Array, Dragon Palace's Dragon King, and Dragon Queen of the Dragon Palace's two giant beast battle pets are all at the God Emperor level. One of them has the strength of a second-order God Emperor realm beast. Other than them, there are two other Abyss God Emperor realm beasts. Also, that Sky Array God Emperor is very strange. Based on our guess, those three avatars are the Sky Array God Emperor. As the Emperor Lord spoke, he waved his arm and three figures appeared, the five-element Sky Array, the Wind Lightning Sky Array, and the Darkness Light Sky Array. This is. At the center, the Shaman Master of the Shaman Association, the old man who called himself Shaman, stared at the figures of the three Sky Array God Emperors. His eyes were wide open, and his expression was constantly changing. That's a dragon's head, a dragon's head, a dragon's head that's exactly the same as a divine dragon's head. This. What kind of great opportunity did this sky formation obtain? Legend has it that the metal ancestor of Shaman steps on two golden dragons, the wood ancestor of Shaman steps on two azure dragons, and the fire ancestor of Shaman steps on two fire dragons. Divine dragon phenomenon, ancestral shaman's special characteristic. A God Emperor of the Shaman Association could not help but roar. Divine dragon phenomenon. Ancestral shaman's special characteristic. The dozens of people behind him raised their heads and stared blankly. Emperor Lord, 7 days later, we will reach the Imperial Star Domain. At that time, we will exterminate them. Use all the strength of the Shaman Association. The Shaman of the Shaman Association was breathing slightly hurried as he spoke. All right. Now that we have been forced into the boundless void by the Dragon Palace, we should be able to meet up in 5 days. The Emperor Lord immediately said. All right, we will go and prepare immediately. The shaman nodded his head heavily. With a wave of his arm, their figures disappeared. Emperor Lord, the Shaman Association is very wary of the Sky Array God Emperor. As their figures disappeared, an Imperial Court God Emperor beside the Emperor Lord revealed a smile. The Sky Array God Emperor is too strong. Back then, he swept across the 8 desolates of the Sky Sorcerer region. Moreover, the Sky Array God Emperor seems to have obtained some kind of opportunity. His head and arms are in the shape of a divine dragon. Legend has it that a few ancestral sorcerers have the divine dragon phenomenon. The Emperor Lord's eyes flickered as he spoke. Let's wait here quietly. The Shaman Association will arrive in 5 days. 7 days later, we will exterminate the Dragon Palace and the rest. He mumbled as killing intent flashed in his eyes. Hong hong hong. Time passed quietly. At the bottom of a mountain range in the Imperial Court, waves of horrifying aura were surging towards the surroundings. Incomparably excited roars could be heard from a cave. Following which, 3 humongous creatures emerged from the cave. They had incomparably sharp claws, a hideous head, and a ferocious aura. Ao Xie and the rest had broken through. Xiao Xian, that place is the cultivation ground that I entered after becoming the princess. I broke through to the God King realm there. The Emperor Star Princess floated in the sky with a shocked expression as she spoke to Wang Xian. That place is indeed a treasure land. Wang Xian smiled faintly as he looked at Ao Xie and the rest. Dragon King. Ao Xie and the others flew over, their faces filled with excitement and respect. Go back to the Dragon Palace and get used to it. Wang Xian smiled as he spoke to them. Yes, Dragon King. Ao Xie nodded his head and flew towards the Dragon Palace immediately. Xiao Xian, Roving Heavens, and the rest of the Dragon Palace should be almost done with their advancement, right? Lan Qingyu stood at the side and asked Wang Xian. Yeah, soon. They should be done by tomorrow. After tomorrow, the people from the Imperial Court and the Shaman Association should be arriving soon. Wang Xian squinted his eyes as he spoke coldly. As long as we can withstand their attacks, this starry sky will be ours. Hee. The people from the Imperial Star Domain were exceptionally excited. She was born here and had deep feelings for this place. Moreover, once the Dragon Palace took control of this place, her status as the Emperor Star Princess would be incomparable to that of the previous princess. Given her relationship with the Dragon King and Dragon Queen, the celestial emperors of the Dragon Palace were also very polite to her. In the future, she would be the real Missy of the Imperial Star Domain. At that time, she could hold a concert with Yinxian and go sightseeing. How great would that be? Let's go back to the Dragon Palace. Let's get ready. Wang Xian patted the Emperor Star Princess on her head and flew towards the Dragon Palace with a smile. Are we going to start something else? Lan Qingyu looked at the Emperor Star Princess before turning to the girls beside her and asked with a smile. Something like that. Tang Yinxian chuckled at the side. What are you guys talking about? The Emperor Star Princess looked at Lan Qingyu and Tang Yinxian in confusion. Nothing. Let's go, my benefactor goddess. Lan Qingyu smiled as she held the Emperor Star Princess's arm and said. The Emperor Star Princess was the benefactor of her and Lingxiu. If not for her, they would have died in the pursuit. Therefore, they were on good terms with the Emperor Star Princess. Today, 10 a.m. Chapter 28:11, Greetings, Dragon King. Greetings, Dragon King. In the main Dragon Palace in the depths of the abyss, the leaders of the Dragon Palace stood respectfully in front. Among them, the ones with the strongest auras were Tianzhen, Roving Heavens, Ao Qi, Ao Yao, Ao Xingmu, Ba Qi, Mo Sho, and the three Devouring Dragon. They were already God Emperor level existences. One Sky Array Master was equivalent to 3 Sky Arrays. Including Roving Demon and the other 9, as well as Wang Xian, there were a total of 13 Sky Arrays. Including Xiao Lan, there were a total of 15 of them. 15 Void God Emperors. This was all the power of the Dragon Palace. This strength far exceeded the Imperial dynasty of the past. The Dragon Palace was not afraid even if they had to fight against the Wizard Association alone. The final battle is about to begin. We cannot lose this battle. Wang Xian swept his gaze across the members of the Dragon Palace and spoke with a solemn expression. It's Dragon King. The group of Dragon Palace members immediately roared. Next, let's discuss the war, said Wang Xian. Dragon King, based on the current situation, we have a 60% chance of winning this battle. The Heavenly Array has been set up, and after testing, it can resist against 8 First-Order God Emperors. Activate the formations. Trapping Formation, Illusory Formation, and Defensive Formation. These should be able to trap the 8 God Emperors completely. As for the Imperial Court Witchcraft Union, a single God Emperor is equivalent to 2. Other than the shaman from the Witchcraft Union, the Sky Array can restrain all of them. 2 Abyss-type God Emperors can restrain 2 God Emperors from the Imperial Court. We only need to deal with 2 Second-Order God Emperors from the Void God Emperor realm and the Shaman. Shaman Little Lan can deal with them. As for the Emperor Lords, we need to deal with them. The 10 God Emperors from our Dragon Palace can definitely deal with the Emperor Lord of the Imperial Court. We can even spare a God Emperor to go against some special and powerful divine weapons of the Imperial Court and the Shaman Association. Our side's Divine Flamestar's eruption is comparable to a First-Order God Emperor realm expert. It shouldn't be a problem for us to defend. Prime Minister Turtle said confidently. After all, defense and offense were 2 different concepts. In addition, there were countless abyss species. This was a force that could not be underestimated. Before the Great War starts, the Devil Fiend Orokai will be very useful and can even have a great influence. Tianzhen looked at the 8-branched Devil Fiend and said, Cake, next up, everyone, let's witness the might of our venom-horned dragon. Orokai smiled and raised his head slightly. Report. Dragon King. At this moment, Roving Lobster shouted from outside the Dragon King Hall and rushed in immediately. Dragon King, Spike Dragon has sent news that the people of the Imperial Court and the Witchcraft Association have already met up. They should be heading towards us soon. Roving Lobster reported. Have they already left? Wang Xian's eyes flickered as he stood up slowly. Dragon King, since they are coming this way, let's get ready to move as well. Yamata no Devil Fiend immediately said. All right, go and get ready. Wang Xian squinted his eyes and nodded. Is this a member of the Wizard Association? Hiss, they have such a terrifying aura. Are the few at the very front giant star beasts? What a powerful aura. The Rao at the very front all ride extremely powerful God King war beasts. There must be 100,000 of them, right? How powerful. The Shaman Society controls a powerful trading company like the Shaman Beast Pavilion. Even after the Battle of Emperor's Fall, they are still extremely terrifying. At this moment, everyone in the Imperial dynasty looked towards the north in unison. In the front row, 9 flags floated high in the starry sky. 9 flags, 9 colors, corresponding to 9 different attributes. There was only one word on the flags, Shaman. In the front row, many powerful warriors were riding on battle pets at the God King realm. In the center were 2 huge elephants. 2 golden elephants. The light they emitted contained a terrifying might. Each elephant was dozens of kilometers long. Such a size meant that they were giant star beasts. Behind the elephants were 6 thrones, each of which was occupied by an old man or a middle-aged man. They weren't shrouded in radiance and wore ordinary black clothes with the word Shaman written on them. One could tell that they were loyal followers of Shaman. And behind the 6 divine thrones, there was an army. This army looked extremely strange and had the wings of a bird. Human-headed beast deity. Mechanical arms. Long, sharp tails. A third eye, and even the entire arm was an eye. Hold on. There were all sorts of strange people. They were shamans who were pursuing great power and hadn't even started. This was the famous shaman army of the Shaman Society. Beside the shaman army were figures in black robes. There weren't many of them, only a few tens of thousands. But they were the dark army that the Sky Shaman region feared. They were also known as the Cursed and the Poisoned. There weren't many of them, only about 400,000. Including the war beasts, there were 500,000. All of them were God King level existences. They were the absolute core of the Shaman Society. Shaman. The Sovereign Lord scanned the Shaman Society and was slightly shocked. The Shaman Society was still so terrifying after the Battle of Emperor's Fall. Sovereign Lord. The shaman in the center of the thrones stood up slowly and scanned the imperial court. Head over directly, he said calmly. Should we discuss this? The Sovereign Lord asked after a moment's hesitation. Emperor Lord, please come over. Imperial dynasty, please lead the way. The shaman said expressionlessly after a moment's thought. All right. The Sovereign Lord and the others nodded and flew over to the Shaman Society. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. That was what they were now. The Shaman Society is so strong. I don't see anyone weaker than Second Order Immortal God King. The strongest Sorcerer Army and Dark Army of the Sorcerer Association are here. 6 Emperor Gods are here. 6. Ha ha ha, every God Emperor of the Shaman Society is a powerful formation master. They are experts that can take on 2 at the same time. 6 God Emperors of the Shaman Society is equivalent to 12 God Emperors. Our Imperial Court and the Shaman Society can easily wipe out the Dragon Palace. We can even kill all the Abyss creatures. The experts and disciples of the Imperial Court glanced at the members of the Witchcraft Union. Sensing their powerful aura, they revealed excited expressions. This time, they would make the Dragon Palace pay a heavy price. They would make them wish they were dead. Kill them all. The Grand Protector of the Imperial Court was also excited. He raised his arm and roared at the disciples. Kill them all. The disciples of the Imperial Court, who had been sulking for days, roared with murderous intent. Countless people flew towards the island of the Imperial Court in a mighty manner. The Imperial Court's island was also at the center of the Imperial Court. As they headed towards the center, they would definitely come across planets with life. Such a large group naturally attracted the attention of the humans on the planets behind the Imperial Court's territory. On the planets, the people looked at the Imperial Court's group in shock. Especially when they saw the Shaman Society's group at the back, their jaws dropped. Chapter 28:12, a heaven-defying battle 4-inch. Everyone from the Imperial Dynasty is back. The experts from the Witchcraft Alliance are here too. Those two golden elephants are dozens of kilometers long. They are so terrifying. The Imperial Dynasty and the Witchcraft Alliance are working together. Sigh, 2 of the 7 factions are working together. Dragon Palace is in trouble. Are the Dragon Palace and the abyssal species still on the Imperial Court Island? Now that the Imperial Dynasty and Witchcraft Alliance are here, they are probably finished. The war is about to break out again. But this time, it will probably be the last battle. Dragon Palace is probably finished. The Witchcraft Alliance has sent 6 God Emperors. The citizens of the life planets in the north of the Imperial Star region discussed in shock when they saw the Imperial Dynasty and Witchcraft Alliance meet up and fly towards the Imperial Dynasty Island. On the brain, everyone was similarly filled with curiosity and amazement towards this final battle. Everyone was talking about it. They understood the Witchcraft Alliance a little. To be able to open a shaman beast pavilion near the Imperial Dynasty, one could imagine their strength and foundation. 2 factions surrounded Dragon Palace. This battle caught the attention of the entire world. Haha, Dragon Palace, die. Dragon King, all disciples of Dragon Palace, all factions related to Dragon Palace, wait for the judgment of the Imperial Dynasty. At this moment, the elite core disciples of the Imperial Dynasty were in high spirits. While they were rushing, they posted information on the artificial brain. They couldn't hide the excitement on their faces. Half a month ago, they had left the Imperial Dynasty Center Island in shame. Today, they were going to avenge themselves. The enormous group advanced quickly. Everyone was filled with fighting spirit. At the back, the members of the Witchcraft Alliance were filled with killing intent. Sky Formation, Dragon King, 2 giant space beasts, 2 God Emperors and abyss species. It shouldn't be a problem. On the throne behind the golden elephants, the shaman heard the message from the Emperor Lord and said calmly, "Shaman, even if he hasn't recovered to his peak, we can't underestimate him. He is the Sky Formation God Emperor." On the left, the only middle-aged Witchcraft Alliance God Emperor said with a bitter expression, "Of course. After all, he is the Sky Formation God Emperor. We have to capture him alive." The shaman's eyes flashed as he clenched his fists and said, "If I don't have the confidence to capture it alive, I must completely destroy it. Completely destroy it." When the middle-aged man heard his words, he lost control and roared in a low voice. His eyes were bloodshot. "Rest assured," the Magus said calmly. "Son of Heaven, there's no need to be so afraid. We shamans seek to defy the heavens and change our fate. We're not afraid of anyone. No matter how strong the Sky Array God Emperor is, he hasn't recovered to his peak yet." An emperor god from Cheng Wu Association smiled and said to him. The middle-aged man gritted his teeth and closed his eyes slightly. His expression gradually became serious. His name was Tianzi. This name was given by Tianzhen, his master. Son of Heaven, such a name, how arrogant and domineering was this? Everyone fell silent as they stared into the distance, quietly waiting for the time to come. "This won't be easy, brother. A bunch of trash is in front, not behind. If we rush over now, we'll be noticed." On the 2 trees in the distance, a conversation could be heard. "Even if it's not easy, we still have to do it. Let's head to the front to take a look at the Imperial Court and hide on some plants or living beings. When the time comes, we'll be able to parasitize them and they won't notice us." "All right, let's go." Behind the 2 trees, pitch-black creatures with huge mouths emerged from the trees. They moved and disappeared instantly. These 2 were naturally Orokai and Demon Fiend. "Dragon King, they're estimated to reach us in 5 hours," Prime Minister Turtle said to Wang Xian a few hours later, above the vast palace of the Imperial Court. "They're turning the tables. We're in charge of defense while they're in charge of offense." Wang Xian looked around and revealed a smile. "Haha. Long time no see, old friends. We'll meet again soon. I wonder if they miss me. I wonder if that disciple of mine is here." Tianzhen laughed heartily at the side with a carefree look on his face. A master who's screwed over by his disciple would only appear in novels. Lan Qingyu joked at the side. Maybe I was a little old and muddle-headed back then. Tianzhen chuckled. Now that we've joined the Dragon Palace, it'll be easy for us to take revenge. We'll just greet them this time, and the next time, we'll annihilate them. All the best. The Dragon Palace is the strongest. Emperor Star Princess clenched her fist and shouted with anticipation. Haha, great. All disciples of the Dragon Palace, prepare for battle in a few hours. This time, we'll be in charge of defense. Wang Xian laughed heartily as he gave the order to everyone. Yes. The members of the Dragon Palace answered loudly. Not far away, roars could be heard. 2 emperor gods of the abyss species looked over with fear in their eyes. There were more than a dozen of them who were at the same level as them. Fortunately, they were in an alliance. Otherwise, they would be dead meat. They roared and told their subordinates to behave themselves. Reporting to the Dragon King, experts from the Lunar Sect, Dragon Python Group, Beichuan Sect, and Ancient God Dynasty are rushing over with their disciples. They said they want to fight alongside the Dragon Palace. At this time, a subordinate reported from behind. Oh! Wang Xian raised his eyebrows. With a swift move, he flew towards the back. Soon, he saw experts from the Lunar Sect, Dragon Python Group, Beichuan Sect, and Ancient God Dynasty standing there with their disciples. All of them looked uneasy as they gripped their weapons tightly. The 4 major forces had a total of 10 million people. They could be considered the absolute core of the 4 major forces. Greetings, Dragon King. When the experts saw Wang Xian flying over, they greeted him respectfully. You're welcome. Wang Xian landed in front of them and said with a smile. Dragon King, I heard that experts from the Imperial Court and the Witch Association will be arriving soon. The 4 of us are on the same side as the Dragon King. We can only survive if the Dragon Palace survives. Therefore, we want to contribute our strength to the upcoming war. Although the strength of the 4 major forces is insignificant. Old Ancestor Yu gritted his teeth and said to Wang Xian. Now that the Dragon Palace and the Imperial Court had become mortal enemies, the 4 major forces would definitely be annihilated once the Dragon Palace was annihilated. As for escaping, with the strength of the Imperial Court, where could they escape to? Once the Dragon Palace was in trouble, they would definitely be in trouble. Therefore, they might as well fight alongside the Dragon Palace. Even if they were to die together, the Dragon King would not forget them if there was a chance of survival. There's no need to help. You guys can just watch the battle from the back later. Wang Xian swept his gaze across them. He was rather impressed that the 4 major forces could rush over. Chapter 28:13. No matter what, we have decided to stand with the Dragon Palace in this battle. Old Ancestor Yu said to Wang Xian solemnly. Stand with the Dragon Palace. The members of the 4 major forces bellowed with flushed faces. Wang Xian smiled faintly. Come and watch the battle. As he spoke, his body moved and he flew forward. The powerhouses of the Moon Sect looked at each other and immediately led their disciples to follow behind. Bei Shuang, go and receive our friends. When Wang Xian came to the front, he shouted at the group of girls. Yes, Master. Bei Shuang nodded. She looked at her sect and the other 3 major forces and went to receive them with a smile. The reborn Bei Shuang had the strength of a level 9 immortal god king after the baptism of the dragon transformation pool. It was a pity that she did not evolve into an ice dragon this time. If she wanted to evolve into an ice dragon, she would have to wait for opportunities in the future. Bei Shuang. Xiao Shuang, didn't you already, ice goddess? The ice goddess is still alive. The experts from Moon Sect and Beichuan Sect widened their eyes in disbelief when they saw Bei Shuang. Master saved me with a treasure. Bei Shuang looked at them and said with a smile. Everyone shuddered when they heard their words. She was saved. They had seen Bei Shuang being killed by Emperor Night God with their own eyes. When a god emperor killed a person, it was impossible for him to leave any chance of survival. In other words, the Dragon King had revived the dead Bei Shuang. What kind of treasure would be able to do that? It's great that you're fine, Bei Chuan, sect leader, and the rest grabbed Bei Shuang's arm and said excitedly. Sect leader, Laozu, and other Laozu, you guys can just watch the battle from here. Bei Shuang said to them as she looked ahead. Xiao Shuang, can the Dragon King and the rest fend off the Imperial Court and Witch Alliance? Why don't they escape into the abyss? That way, they will have a greater advantage in the abyss battlefield. Bei Chuan, sect leader, hesitated for a moment before asking. Don't worry, sect leader. We won't lose this battle. Bei Shuang said confidently. Won't lose? Hearing this, the eyes of all the disciples from the four forces flickered. Did the Dragon Palace have the confidence to stop the Imperial Court and Shaman Association? This, if he could really withstand it, it would be a heaven-defying act. I hope the Dragon Palace can hold on. Once the Dragon Palace is destroyed, we will be killed too. Everyone prayed in their hearts. Time slowly passed. Countless people were still discussing on the brain, but they didn't know the specifics. Only the elite core disciples of the Imperial dynasty would occasionally post some news on the AI, saying that the Dragon Palace was about to be wiped out. Numerous people discussed. They were sure that the Imperial dynasty and Shaman Guild could easily wipe out the Dragon Palace. After all, based on the strength displayed by both parties, the difference between the Dragon Palace and the two major forces was simply too great. Dragon King, the Devil 8 branches have succeeded. Time ticked by. After 4 hours, Prime Minister Turtle received a piece of news and reported it to Wang Xian. Wang Xian revealed a smile. This was good news. The heaven-defying battle is about to begin. An hour later, Wang Xian kept the AI, squinted his eyes, and stared ahead. In front of them, the huge team slowly appeared in their line of sight. The team had already changed. At the forefront were 2 humongous golden elephants. The elephants were glowing brightly and were exceptionally eye-catching in the void. Such a scene looked like an emperor on an inspection tour. In the middle were the 300,000 Divine King experts of the Shaman Guild, the famous Dark Army. On the left and right were the hundreds of billions of experts and disciples of the Imperial Court. All of them were staring ahead with murderous intent. The Dragon King didn't escape. Is he looking down on us? TSK, I'd like to see how the Dragon Palace is going to stop us. At this moment, the disciples of the Imperial Court also saw the army of the Dragon Palace, which consisted of countless abyss species, waiting for them in the sky above the Imperial Court Island. The disciples and experts of the Imperial Court roared in surprise. Stop! In the sky above the Imperial Court Island, the Emperor stared ahead and ordered Wang Xian and the rest. The disciples of the Imperial Court stopped immediately, and so did the experts of the Shaman Guild. They faced each other from afar. A suffocating aura spread to the surroundings. Tianjin, you shouldn't be alive. The shaman slowly stood up from his throne and stared at the heavenly formation expressionlessly. Since I'm still alive, all of you will die soon. Tianjin stared at him and revealed a faint smile. He, I didn't expect my disciple to advance to the Emperor God realm. He looked to the side and said calmly to the middle-aged Emperor God, Tianzi. You shouldn't be alive. The Emperor looked at Tianjin with fear in his eyes as he gritted his teeth and bellowed. Ha ha ha, it's a pity that I, Tianjin, am still alive. Tianjin laughed out loud. I won't be able to live for long either. He. The sorcerer sensed the aura from Tianjin and smiled faintly. Our positions are reversed. You guys attack and we'll defend. Wang Xian lifted his head slightly and said, Dragon King, I don't know where you got the courage to wait for us here, but I'll definitely take your head today. The Emperor Lord clenched his fist and a radiant staff appeared in his hand. His booming voice was filled with murderous intent. I'm afraid you guys aren't qualified. Wang Xian looked over and said coldly, Come and attack. Let's see what you think of my array that integrates cultivation techniques into one. Let me see if your sorcerer's guild has improved. And my dear disciple, let me see how strong you are now. Tianjin squinted his eyes and said coldly. He shook his body and split into 2 doppelgangers. Wang. The island in the center of the Imperial Court trembled slightly and emitted a majestic aura. Given our strength, what does the Dragon Palace have to fight with us? The Emperor Lord stared at Tian Zhan and the rest and bellowed furiously. Rumble, rumble, rumble. A terrifying sound came from his body, and a mighty aura rushed down from above. Let's fight with the strength of the Dragon Palace. Ha ha ha, today, let the Dragon Palace have a taste of the strength of two elite forces in the bedazzling starry sky. Wang Xian laughed and charged towards the sky with the aura of an emperor god. At the side, roving Chitian, roving crab and the rest let out a roar. Waves of aura surged into the sky. 1, 2, 3, 8.